There are some people in this world that did not tune in to the Alliance Vlog podcast. Shame on you! Shame on you! My name is Ella Indy, and I'm one half of the NWA Women's World Tag Team Champion. And I'm Kimmy Page, the other half of the NWA World Women's Tag Team Champion. And you better go listen to the Alliance Vlog, what's it called again? Podcast, period. Or you're ugly. You're Power approved.
The Alliance Blog, the Alliance Blog, the Alliance Blog, the Alliance Blog. Alliance? If you put an S in front of Alliance, you have Salliance. That's me.
Are you ready?
Power. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
I'm building an alliance.
God bless the internet.
Okay, let's party.
It's showtime.
It's time for the Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts Kevin Frazier, Jaden, DKM, and J. Cal.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Alliance Guys podcast. This is a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. Today I'm joined by a special guest who makes Ron Pompey look weak by comparison. Billy Mays, who? We got the ultimate pitch man for the NWA, Mr. Danny Dealz. How you doing, Mr. Danny Dealz?
Hey, man. Yeah, so you got the memo, but the colors are off.
We almost matched.
Yes, that's right. Well, this one was clean and it was on top. I figured I should wear some swag if I was going to be on the show.
I was looking for the 76 shirt and I couldn't find it. And I know this was the older bootleg, but I need to get some more NWA merch.
I sent you that blue one, I thought. Did I not or no?
Yeah, you did, the 76, but I've been looking all over for it this morning and I couldn't find it. It's like I wear these shirts regularly. I wear them to the gym. You know, people ask, what's the Alliance? What's the NWA? Stop talking to me. I'm working out. But yeah.
That's the most. No, I'll tell you actually a quick story that reminds me of that. Is that when I first moved to Tennessee 20 years ago, break into the wrestling business, I was, believe it or not, I was in shape at the time. I was 20 years younger. And then I needed to find a job to support my wrestling habit, as Tracy Smothers would say. So, like, I remember working at this gym because I was like working out there, and then I got like a gig there, and I had to cut it because I had this long sales resume from before, and they wanted you to walk up to people who were working out and ask them if they knew 10 people who wanted to sign up, and then you would get some kind of cut off people that signed up. I'm like, I don't want to do that because I hated when people came up to me, right? And it would always be some guy who worked at the gym who wasn't as good a shape as you. You know what I mean? I wasn't like a bodybuilder or nothing. I just was like ripped. You know what I mean? Sure. And like they would come up and be like, you're doing that wrong. Like, really? Why don't you put some weight on there, big dude? Like, get away from me. I don't want to talk to you. You know what I mean? Like,
that's always
yeah, I hate that.
The gym that I'm at now, and I think they have some on the East Coast. I'm not even sure. It's called Powerhouse, and just the most chill place. Everyone there is really cool. I always walk around with my headphones on, so nobody bothers me. No one says a word to me, and that's how I like it.
There was a big bar in Cleveland when I was living up there in my 20s that was called the Powerhouse. But other than that, I don't think I've ever heard of the gym Powerhouse. I had been in the bar. It was actually a giant building that had a bunch of different small bars in it. And
so it's a bar within a bar.
Yes, the Powerhouse. They had a Howl at the Moon bar, which is a piano bar. They sold like Milwaukee's Best for like 50 cents in a can. And, it's a wacky bar, Spaghetti Factory. This is in the Rust Belt. This is probably like 2001 money too. So you know what I mean? The beer would probably be more today, but at the time, Milwaukee's Best. I mean, geez. Bottom of the barrel.
What year was this?
Well, I mean, I lived in Cleveland for a long time, but I mean, this probably I'm just saying like 2001. I'm just picking a random year where I would have been like 20 something,
I guess we're closer in age than I thought. I'm 46. I just turned 46.
I'm a little bit above you.
All right.
I just had a birthday in December.
Well, happy birthday. Oh, that's right. I just saw I retweeted it. Wasn't it like it was like 2 days ago, wasn't it?
No, it was on the 4th.
On the 4th.
I said in December, like we're not still in it.
Yeah. It's such a long time ago. But yeah, it's first of all, it's so great to have you on. And, I'm not trying to blow smoke up your ass, but you've always been a good dude. You've always been kind to us here at the Alliance Blog. You literally helped me out. I was all the way in Nashville. I couldn't get into the building because I didn't buy my ticket on time. I called, I'm not going to name any names here, but I called a few talents and I was like, hey, is there any way you could get me, like any single way? And he's like, no, I can't. I can't.
I could,
like, well, all right. And you kindly reached out to me and said, hey, man, I know you're here. Come on down. So I immediately had my ticket purchased for the next day right after that. But I think
I saw the tweet. I was going to tweet something out. And I think I saw one where you're like, anybody can get me in? I was like, I can get him in. Who cares? It's just one chair. It wasn't like it's 50 people.
Right. You know? Well, and the thing about it, too, is like I don't want to get into it. I don't want to say anything negative, but like it was the building was at capacity. Like it wasn't small, but there was plenty of room for little old Jay to sit in.
You could add a chair, yeah. Well, I'll tell you too. Some of the talents, like they have very little. You know what I mean? They can't just be like, hey, I need a chair right here. You know what I mean? So like, it's not on them, and they were probably half dressed or whatever they're doing. So they're probably like, man, I can't do it if it's so loud, so loud.
Yeah, and again, to like stick your neck out for me, that's not really a good idea. You know what I mean? Like Dealz has got some, some stroke in the office.
Well, I just told Joe too. I said, hey, this guy. He goes, yeah, let him in.
What was that?
I was like, good, we'll get in trouble together. That might have been the first loop I did where I was the permanent co-pilot with Joe, I think, actually.
And that's the other thing I want to talk about, because the guys in this chat, they will definitely remember you from your time managing the Ill-Begotten. Some of them might even remember that you were the one that brought Jack Stain into the NWA as Mama Storm.
Mama Storm. Yeah, that's right.
But and of course, the merch and the clips of the merch, the sales, the commercials, I guess you call them, advertisements, have always been pretty funny. But I don't think people really got that you were so good on the mic. And I mean that in the most positive way possible. I don't think people understood that you had such a wealth of wrestling knowledge, and you come on the microphone. And, I love Tim Storm, and he did a fairly good job at it. But I feel like you are the Bobby the Brain to the Gorilla Monsoon that is Joe Galley. And there it is.
Look at these things.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, no, I always liked that too on television. I liked when it was Jesse Ventura and McMahon or Bobby and Gorilla. Nobody's going to touch that. That's like, you know what I mean? But I guess it's good to have two different perspectives. I suppose. I guess they like it. We've been doing it for over. Well, I filled in a couple times prior to that, but I had done that. So when I was training, because when I was breaking in, I was coming in at 30, and I knew I wanted to manage.
Yeah.
But I got trained in the ring too, because I think everybody should, for multiple reasons, and we don't have to get into all of it. But I remember the guy who was breaking me in said, if you didn't want to, I was going to suggest it, because he goes, if you're a manager and you get any kind of heat, you're going to end up in every kind of match ever, which is true. But also I would do other things. I had done other things too, like at Rampage Pro Wrestling on Sundays. I think that was in 2009, but we used to go there every Sunday and do that show. And that's where I met Sal, actually. And I remember going down there, and Mike Taylor was like, because I had done a few of those, and we had worked NWA Primetime with them before in Columbus, Georgia, I think. But he was like, I got 800 managers here. Can you ring announce? My ring announcer, went, AWOL or something. I said, sure. So I did that. I did commentary on the show that I trained at, which is a weekly Thursday show at the time. And stuff like that. So I'd done it before. I'd gone to broadcasting school and all that, but this is still a higher level, because you got to make sure it's, so it's really, I have Joe as if I didn't have Joe, I don't know that I would be, I don't think you guys would think I was good as I was if I didn't have Joe next to me.
Well, and I will say this, like I've been a guy that's been listening to Joe call matches for like the last 15 years. He worked with Championship Wrestling from Hollywood for a very long time. That's out here in Southern California. He was the voice of that promotion before moving over to the NWA. And at the 70th anniversary show, he got center stage with Jim Cornette, and it was really fun to hear him call with a guy like Cornette. And then when Power broke, of course, Corny was there with Galley, and you just seeing Galley's maturation too from his time in Hollywood to with the NWA, and of course, like he's got a very professional broadcasting background, being a news guy and all, but I really feel like he's evolved too on the mic. You guys have really come together, I think, as a good commentary team, and probably the best, in my opinion, probably the best NWA's had. And I liked Cornette, I did, but I think there's something about the voice that you bring and the energy that you bring. It's a little bit different than what Cornette did, and of course, Galley's is like the ultimate straight man. So the way you guys bounce off of each other, I think, is really good.
He's been the constant, because after him it was Stu. Because at that time I was working behind the scenes, and Dealz was a infomercial guy for High Spots at the time. I was stage managing, but after him it was Stu, and then it was and then Velvet. Did Velvet come? Was she season 3 or season 4? I can't remember.
I think that was season 4.
Yeah. Then Velvy. Then Tim was out there too. Then it was those 3 for a while. And then he's been the one constant. Has been Joe. He's because I think even 70, because I worked 72, but I can't remember because I was all over the building.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure that was Joe too. Was it not?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's the one constant the whole time. He nailed to his seat.
Well, I guess the level of professionalism he brings to the position.
Oh
it does add it makes the NWA feel more
legit. Feels legit, and I think he's super underrated, but
it is as highly as we're talking about him. I don't think he gets the flowers that he definitely deserves. Because again, he's been putting it down, not only as the voice, but also like the stuff he does behind the scenes. He's part of the NWA front office, and that's the thing with all of you guys in the NWA. It's not a multi-billion-dollar corporation. You guys wear lots of hats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Joe and Kyle work around the clock. They do more work than people know.
Do you think that hurts or helps the NWA at this level right now? Do you think it would help if they just threw more bodies into production?
No, I think it's good. I think it's a deeper conversation, but I think I was in a situation like that before at TNA when we started to shrink a little bit, and some of us started to get more, having more positions for a little bit. When we were coming off Spike, and some of us were doing more things, and it makes the team stronger, the team's tighter, and you have a bunch of people who are super well rounded, and I'm not saying that you never use somebody. Of course, you could always be like, man, I wish we had a couple more people for this or whatever. But I don't think right now, it hinders anything really. I think it's just, I'm sure if one of them were to hear it, be like, oh yeah, I'd like some sleep, Speak for yourself, pal.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean? I don't think it's so much a hindrance sometimes. I'm also not trying to be creepy. My dog Bubby had an eye injury. That's why the lights are dim in here.
No, you're good. I can understand that. I can appreciate that. Let's talk about Danny Dealz, because you wear more than just the hats of commentary. We know that you push the merch like no else, and but you also design a lot of the merchandise too, right?
I either design or I come up with a concept and find a designer to do it. Or like if it's a talent, me and a talent will talk about it. Or sometimes a talent will say, I have something, or but a lot of it is my concepts. And that's, I was talking, man, I can't remember if it was Caleb Conley, or somebody like that I saw not too long after I had a hand in the merch. And I said, yeah, I've been doing that for them and making some of that and doing it. And he goes, yeah, I thought maybe you did, because he's like, I knew you had a background in it, but he goes, all of a sudden, all the shirts, it's every color of the rainbow. You know what I mean? Because I've had orange shirts, pink shirts, purple shirts, green shirts, blue shirts, solid, heathered, this, that, the, you know what I mean? So like, He was like, I thought maybe you might have had your hand there because it drastically, not that it was terrible before, but he was like, it totally changed. Like, there was a lot of colors because I'll try everything at least once. Because I also, not only was I involved, I did a bunch of different things, with TNA. One of them was merchandise for a long time. Actually, me and Sal Renaro used to drive their house show merchandise truck for years. I don't know if you knew that when Sal briefly came out of the ring, 2011 to like 2013 or somewhere in there. But like also Rosemary, Alley, and I had the Demon Money brand, and we tried all kinds of stuff. We made lunch boxes. We made, that's why sometimes somebody will be like, "Oh, what do you think about leggings?" They're like, well, I've tried that before, and they move in person, but they don't move online because you don't know who made them, how they fit, blah blah blah. And I've also worked some cruise ships for a number of years, going back to like 15, where I'll see stuff that is made there. Sometimes I'm like, that would be cool for, maybe an NWA thing. Maybe I'll do that. We had the Shipwrecked I worked last year had these cool flat bills with this design underneath the lid, and it had all this. And I haven't gotten to it yet, but also sometimes it's like cost and where you have it made. And, certain items sell better at events. Other ones do good online. Some do good at both. Like the lunch boxes I made. Yeah. I've probably shipped maybe 10 of those online, but in person, I've sold about 80 of them. So it's like some things are just, you know what I mean? You just got to find what works and kind of mess around with it. And if somebody gives you an idea, don't think it's dumb because it wasn't yours. You might go, oh, okay. Even somebody who might, be a camera operator, and they might be like, hey, do you think of doing this? You're like, that's a good idea. Let me try it. Like you can't, you gotta try everything, throw it at the wall,
Well, and that's one of the things I've always spoken to when I do get to talk to my friends who are in the business. It's like, why don't you have more merchandise? Like getting out into the ring and wrestling, that's great. Like you just got paid for your 30, you got paid whatever you got paid for your wrestling match, but you have an opportunity to interact with fans, sell cards, sell shirts, sell hats.
$30 would be off.
What's that?
$30 wouldn't be too far off. No, you're right though. Here's another thing about that. So if you go back to like 06, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, all the years that pocket of years where I was on the road traveling, doing indie shows all the time, especially when I got laid off. And back then there were a lot of weekday shows. And then, on the weekends you'd travel out Chicago or Cleveland or wherever. And like, at that time, there wasn't a lot of money, of course. And there wasn't a lot of money for the talent either. And there wasn't a lot of money, like, especially if you were like manager, you could get some money here and there, but a lot of times it wouldn't be a lot. I'd work myself into angles where I had to be in a match and then I could get more. Yeah. But like I started doing, and also at that time too, I wasn't really so much of a goofy comedy heel like I later became. We were always trying to get like for real heat, because I don't know why, but we just were. So, it wasn't like I was going to have merch myself. So, I started making more money almost at the merchandise table. And back then I would like bootleg DVDs and all kinds of stuff like that. Right. And even a young Kerry Morton used to watch my table for me sometimes. When he was like 10, he'd be on the road with his dad or something. Yeah. And, he'd always think he was working me. I'd have like a X Division or a Best of the High Flyers or something. He'd be like, oh man, that's so cool. I'd love to have that. I'm like, you ain't working nobody, kid. I'd be like, hey, listen, why don't you sell a bunch of the stuff on my table? I'll give you that DVD. Like, sweet. He was a carny back then. He was trying to work, but he couldn't. He was born in it. You know what I mean? So
sure.
So I mean, there is, but sometimes it's like you got to look at. Like one of the reasons I did the bootleg DVDs too is because I had gotten the cost to where it made sense that I could make money back off of. And some of these guys, you get it, it's like, okay, how much are shirts? Okay. And am I going to really sell any? How many am I going to sell? How many do I have to sell it for? If you're, indie town out there, you're on a smaller budget and you go, do I take a risk to make something like this? And I spend money on this and nobody buys it. And then eventually I just got to give it away or sell it for cost or less than just to get it out of my bag or whatever. So I get sometimes the apprehension to, know what I mean?
So full disclosure, I'm a business owner. So I always look at like, how do you get your ROI? And even if you introduce the merchandise, it doesn't sell well, then there's like the giveaway, like, oh, you take a picture with me and I'll sign it, or I'll give you the shirt, or there's ways to like, I get it. Like
there is.
You don't ever want to walk away from a loss, but there's always ways to turn losses into net positives down.
Yeah. I mean, there's different ways. I mean, there's bundles and there's all kinds of stuff. I mean, there are different ways, but I mean, I get some of the apprehension on it sometimes though, too, at the same time, to just try something out of the box other than 8x10s or maybe a t-shirt. Right. I understand it, but it's tough sometimes to, it's easier said than done, I guess, sometimes, right?
Of course. It's not like everyone has the ability to finance it either. It's like,
yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. And they don't, most shirt companies, they want you to pay before you sell anything. So you're fighting an uphill battle. One of the things I really thought was cool that you did at the 75th, and I don't know if you've done it elsewhere or at the 76, I didn't see it, but you had like the bag with like 3 shirts in it. You're like, what size are you? You pay for that bag. You get 3 shirts in there for your size.
Oh,
and it's like
4 shirts.
Oh, 4 shirts. And it was a grab bag. So maybe you got some really cool shirt that you love, and maybe you got one that you didn't care about. But at the end of the day, the price was very, very fair. And you got a cool bag to go with the shirts.
Yeah. It was the NWA bag. And then 4 shirts of the same size for $20. It's an old TNA idea from when I told you Sal and I were on the road doing live events. Who was the main merch guy on live events back then?
Yeah.
Who was he? Do you remember?
Yeah, Don West.
Yeah. It's a Don thing. I was like, what would Don do right here? And I'm like, you know what I'm going to do? And that's why that one, there was a bag. It's not there now, but it was in the summer and it said the Dealz D-Dub. That's why it was called that, because we used to call Don D-Dub on the road.
Got it. That's cool. Like,
he was the man.
I knew that, but I never really put 2 and 2 together. And then you say that, I'm like, oh shit, yeah. Don,
it happens all the time. I'll just be like, what would Don do right here? You know what I mean? Like, what can I come up with some kind of, but it also has to be bang for the buck, because I'm not one of those people who, I don't want to make some kind of bundle and be like, yeah, all the people are going to buy this and ha, 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 ha. Like, it has to be a good deal. You know what I mean? You don't want to screw anybody over on it. You know what I mean? It's got to be a deal. We've got to get something out of it, but they've got to get a good deal too at the same time.
Right. Because once you burn your audience, then like they're not going to want it. They're not going to trust you to buy.
You can't do that. You can't do that. You can never, you got to level with them. That's it.
In the chat, they're asking about DVDs. Will the NWA release any more DVDs in the future? Do you have any idea about that?
Well, you never know. Just know that the Dealz man has looked into it many times. We'll see what the future holds. And I think, a thing with DVD and Blu-ray, it never completely went away. It's kind of like vinyl, where it just got less. And then, but like if you go to I went to Walmart to get Bubs some treats. There's one right down the street, and I walked past the DVD section. There's all kinds of new stuff out there. They have box sets and all that. And I think it's not just somebody that's maybe my age. Even younger people are starting to realize if you buy something digitally, sometimes you don't really own it. And so I think sometimes people kind of want to have the hard copy. You know what I mean? So I would like to have a better answer, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see.
Famously, people who've bought content from other providers will have that content until the provider loses access to it, and then shit out of luck. So
the network's going away, right?
Yeah, the WWE network. I don't know what the timetable is, because it's on Peacock right now, but we know that WWE programming is moving to Netflix, and I think across
everything's not coming with it.
I think across the world, outside of North America, I think the content is all going to Netflix, but not right away.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. And Power Season 3. Christopher, I would like to have that too, because that's where Mama Storm showed up for the first time. Season 3.
Whose idea was Mama Storm? Because that got a lot of heat from a lot of us. Was that something you pitched to Tim? Is that something?
No, I came there to stage manager like normal. It was Billy. So I feel like it might have been for somebody else who didn't make it.
Okay.
For some reason or another. And I think Billy just went because he he knew I had done some indie stuff before. I wasn't doing it as much. Really, I was just I would help Crimson Book Tried and True Pro, and I would be on the show with my jobber crew, the Paisans, me, Tony Kazina, Trey Lamar, a couple other people, and so he knew I had done stuff, and he also remembered he was at TNA when we did delete stuff, and like I was the cab driver or the truck driver who Rosemary carjacked and stuff like that. So. He was just kind of like, hey, you know, I'm pretty sure it was his idea, but honestly, I can't remember now. I didn't pitch it, though. I never pitched it. I was brought there to work production. I wasn't even messing with the merch at the time, and that's what I was there to do. So I didn't even, you know, and that's how it had been for years for me in the business, too. Like I would still do some stuff as a talent, but at that point, everything was behind the scenes, or it was either merchandise or production or something. But that's, you know, it had been a long time since I had still brought the bag to the you know, building with me, right? So like it definitely didn't come from me, but it did get a lot of heat. And I knew that the Mama Storm thing was over, right? And so when Joe said Mama Storm's here, and I heard how loud the crowd got, and I went, oh boy, this is gonna be awesome, because I knew as soon as it came out, then it totally turned like. They were pissed. The thing about that GPB was that, like, the way the stage is set, right? Yeah. And the lights, it feels like the people are on top of you.
Right.
And
I was there for the first two tapings, the like September 30th and October 1st, and I think that was 2019.
Yeah.
And it was such a great studio, and I know that there's issues with it, and that's why you guys aren't going back there, but man, it felt so old school, and the look felt so old school, and it was really a great venue to kick off Power. But I
think it was too. But I also think at the same time that if we were still there doing it the exact same way, it would be stale at this point.
Yeah,
I think people would be over it, kind of. You know,
I do feel like it was necessary to evolve for the NWA, and I think doing different live events is good. Although I'll confess to you, I really do miss the pay-per-views, like the signature live events. Mm-hmm. It's cool that we don't have to pay and we're getting the content, but there was something cool about sitting down and going to, you know, Triller, but it could have been anywhere, and watching that live event, whether it was, you know, if I was at home watching it or if I was at the venue.
Sure.
Because, you know, I'm one of these guys that I've traveled for the NWA. Like I said, I was in Atlanta, and even in the last year, I did Forney, and I did Philadelphia.
That's right. You guys were in Forney. That's right.
Yeah. And then the year before, St. Louis, and then Nashville afterwards. And so I've always tried to travel to be a part of the NWA. Danny, I went to China to see Nick Aldis defend the 10 pounds of gold against Colt Cabana. So I think I've got my card checked as far as that goes.
That's it. I like tentpole pay-per-views too. And who knows? We'll see what happens. I mean, I don't with a lot of stuff like that. Somebody who was asking me, I was at WrestleCade. I go there every year. It's my favorite convention, and it's also like a class reunion because you see a bunch of your people that are friends that everybody's working elsewhere, and you don't get to see them all the time.
Right.
And except for the WWE friends, but like everybody else, and I forget somebody. A promoter had asked me because he goes, "What about?" I'm like, "I don't know." He goes, "You do know." And I said, "I really don't." I said, "I would not be kicked out of those meetings, but I'm not invited to them." And he's like, "Okay." I'm like, "So you know what I mean?" Like, so I really don't know.
Well, that's another question I have for you. I do want to get back to Mama Storm, but just something I've been curious about. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to creative, I know that it starts and stops with Billy, but is there a committee, or is there anybody else besides Billy who's making those decisions, or do they work together as a group, or is it Billy solo?
I don't know.
You're not invited to that meeting. Fair. That's fair. That's fair.
I don't know. And I do know too that I know that you are free to pitch things too.
Sure.
You can do that pretty much anywhere, but some places it's discouraged. But I think I really don't know the process.
I guess
just what I see on the monitor.
Right. Well, so because of the way that pro wrestling is and the kayfabe has kind of been thrown out the window years ago.
Mhm.
Everyone kind of has their own idea of how things should be done and how it should be booked and how things should happen. And the bottom line is, like,
Everybody.
until you're writing that check, like, it doesn't matter what you think. I get that.
Yeah, I mean, I've rebooked. I've probably rebooked. I mean, I'm not in the habit of doing it at NBA. I'm sure I've done it with a few things where, like, I would have done this, but anywhere I've ever been, you always kind of rebook, you armchair booker stuff and go, well, I would have done this, but you also sometimes don't know the reason why something was done, and just go, well, I don't understand this. Like, well, yeah, we did talk about that, but and that's why we couldn't. And you go, oh, okay. So it's not always so cut and dry as to, you don't know what led to, it's all kinds of things. And I'm not specifically talking about NWA now, I'm talking about anywhere. It could be how many appearances this person has on their deal, or what this is, or this, that, the other, or, there's all kinds of stuff that you don't always know exactly why something turned out the way it did. And then sometimes too, and I know I sound like, Vinny Russo, but I did agree with him on this one time because somebody was giving him slack about something. And he was like, if I buck something that looks good on paper and they don't deliver in the ring, how the hell is that my fault? You know what I mean? So at the same time, it's like, it could also be, it's just like, we're right in the middle of the NFL season. I've loved the Steelers my entire life. There are plenty of times where, they've lost a big game where the right play was called. You got to execute it. You were there, you got to make tackle, whatever it is. It's the same kind of thing. Like, so sometimes, and I'm really talking completely general too.
Right. And I pick up on that, and I'm sure the audience does as well. One last question before we get to Mama Storm, but Christopher Henry asked this, and I just wanted to put it up here. Danny, how would you compare doing color on Power with doing color on JCP?
I like doing both of them. They're both different. JCP's, I feel like, a little looser. I'm a little looser on it, with old Big Dan.
Yeah.
But they're kind of the same. Dan's like Joe. He's doing play-by-play, and he's a straight guy. You know what I mean? I'm me. I feel like Power is just it's the show. So I feel like a little more dialed in, and I don't mail it in on JCP.
Yeah. But
I'm also like, it's just looser, but I can still operate good that way too. You know what I mean? It's they're different, but it's similar. I always still try to be good.
Right.
It's not like Joe has to bring me. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So I still try to do my best. I just feel like they're different. JCP's a little looser just because it's like that. It's just the atmosphere. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I'm still going to be the deal machine. But they're two totally different things. And there's also not a headset where it's, go to replay, take a break, blah, blah, blah. There's other people in your ear telling you. It's just they're two different levels. Sure. More cameras, more lights, a little more laid back, but I'm still the deal machine. And JCP are good shows though, Christopher. I'm sure you've watched a few.
I've said this about JCP, and you've been around long enough that I feel like you could agree or disagree with me. But in my perception of the NWA, what the NWA has meant to me for 20 plus years, I feel like JCP nails the true identity of what the NWA was, and I mean that in the most positive way I can say it.
It feels a little more mid-Atlantic than pop.
Yeah, it reminds me of the pre-Billy time in the NWA, the pre Bruce Tharpe era of the NWA.
I would say it's better than that though, because I was there too.
Yeah, fair. Well, that's what I'm saying. You were around, so it reminds me of like the Mike Porters, the.
I worked for Mike Porter for years.
Main event.
Yeah, in Nashville, and I feel like that's where I met Plunkett. Also.
Probably.
And that's when I was traveling with Sean Schultz all the time, and he had that.
The shooter.
He had the Mid-American television title forever and a day, and we used to cut promos, some of which never made air because we'd make fun of Blue Demon, and there was. I don't know if it was Billy Barons or somebody, but they would just be like, oh, you guys can't do that. But, at the time it was like, well, you could never get the champ away from when he was the champ. Adam Pearce took it everywhere. Right. But like, it felt like Demon was he was like Mexico and California and that's it. You know what I mean? And so
Demon, I got told once that and I'm not going to say the promoter because I don't want to get anyone in trouble, but I was told that a promoter said, I don't know what to do with a Mexican wrestler, which is crazy to me because it's like there are Hispanic people all over the U.S. There's Spanish-speaking people all over the U.S.
Yeah, half the world
this,
speaks it.
Huh?
Half the world speaks it.
Yeah, and you had this guy who was a real modern-day superhero carrying the 10 pounds of gold, and like I never could wrap my head around it. It was one of the bigger promoters of the NWA, and I won't go any further than that. But when I heard that, I was floored because I thought, man,
that's great. And at that time when we were doing that, Porter, he ran the old asylum, the fairgrounds, and he ran several different buildings. But at that time, we were on Veritas Street, which was a prominently Mexican and Central American lot in that area in Nashville. So I mean, Demon would have been, it's not like he wouldn't have been over. I mean, Porter would have booked him. I don't know what went into all that anyway. Yeah. The NWA was so flimsy back then. It was like a loose group of independent promoters, and that's really what it felt like.
It was, but I feel like at that time too, like you had some promoters who were like really gung ho about it, and then some guys who were just like you said,
just want to pay the fee to be whatever.
And I'm an NWA promoter. Look at me, and it's like that's one thing I love about the territory system now is I don't feel like anyone's just getting by on their laurels. Like I feel like all the territories are really trying to do something.
JCP, I'll tell you, Joe has run some towns that I hadn't been in since like 2007, because I remember he was talking about I can't remember Petros. Yeah. I was like, oh, Petros. And he goes, you know where that is? And I said, I don't know where it is, but I've been there. I said, yeah, I did a show there for like 5 people in 2007. and we went there and it was packed. You know what I mean? Like Joe, he promotes well. EC, I've known EC for years. He's another one. I haven't been up to one of his shows yet. I mean, grew up in Cleveland. I know EC3. He's never brought me up there. Whatever. You know what I mean? And then, of course, I worked for the Page sisters recently, but I mean, I worked for KFW in 2006 for their dad when they were little girls running around. That show's been running for 20 plus years, and used to be in every Wednesday at a Triple C bar. Way back then. Yeah.
Wednesdays are such a great day to run wrestling because there's not a lot of competition. I mean, there's TV competition, but
what was weird about it, I didn't know this till I moved to the South because I grew up in the Rust Belt, is that Wednesdays when you're in that part of Tennessee, not in Nashville, but if you're in East Tennessee, it's very Appalachia. There's a lot of Southern Baptists, and they go to church on Wednesday and Sunday. Oh. So there are some people over there who are like, Wednesdays, who's going to run on Wednesday? But they ran on Wednesday. But there was a few shows on Wednesday. There was an Alabama show on Wednesday. Evansville, Indiana ran on Wednesday. There was every other Tuesday at the Smoky Mountain Skating Rink. There was every Tuesday for a while in Alcoa. There used to be shows all over. And then you would work the fair circuit for like Cash Brothers in Kentucky. And those would be basically every day. Any day that they had a fair, they needed people. It didn't matter if it was a Monday, a Friday, or whatever. And the payoff working for them, like you didn't make a ton each time you worked the show, but then at the end of the fair season, they would run a big legend show in Somerset that would draw, and they would pay you really well there. And if any gimmicks you had, no matter who you were, if you were on the show, they'd buy them. So,
that's great.
Yeah. So it was kind of, but it was definitely carnival circuit. I mean, that's
real life Carnyland,
but it was fun. I mean, it was fun. It's cool now, but there were plenty of times where we were like, man, we got to be goofs. What are we doing? I remember Bert Paranis had said one time to me, he was like, one of the guys I was with, he was like, man, I'm quitting this and that. And he's like, you already put the needle in your arm, sugar, try to pull it out. And he wasn't lying. It's just like, nobody leaves this. It's not happening.
Yeah.
And you got to be wild to be in it in the first place. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, those were good times. But yeah, a lot of those territory shows I got way off track. But a lot of those territory shows, yeah, I mean, they're run way better than those shows were back then. But a lot of indie shows are, not all of them, but a lot of them are miles better than they were 15 years ago. It's not even close.
Well, and I think technology's better, right?
What we're doing right now wasn't possible.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, when I first started getting into independent wrestling, there wasn't even a YouTube, right? Like, if I wanted to see a Tony Luciano match, like I'd have to like tape trade somebody, right?
Lucasio.
Say it again.
Lucasio.
Lucasio. My apologies, Lucasio.
No, that's fine. Everybody does.
I don't want to besmirch the name of Lucasio, but I've been saying Luciano all day, so now I'm going to fight with that.
No, I was talking to, not that long ago, I did an interview for that Slam up in Canada or whatever.
Yeah.
And the guy, we got deep dive. He wanted to, like, about indies and stuff like that, like way back. And I told him, I said, all that stuff is like the lost episodes from Gilligan's Island. Like, it's like it never happened unless you were there. Every once in a while, if you were on some giant show that maybe made a DVD of it, maybe. Yeah. But I said YouTube back then, when it shows up, it's still like cats falling off TVs and all that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not really. So it's like there's so much stuff that used to happen that it's like it's in your memory. And we all have flip phones, so none of us really have good pictures of it. So it's it's all just really up here. You know what I mean?
I went to Cage Match today because I was like, I knew you wrestled, but I didn't know like to what extent and how long and all that. And they've only got like 5 matches listed for you for like
tried and true pro, probably. Yeah.
And JP I was talking to JP when he came on, and I mentioned Cage Match, and he goes, "Brother, most of the matches I worked, people there wouldn't even know what a cage match was. You know, like that site doesn't exist."
No.
So
I think the only reason those from 17 might have popped up on Cage Match is because that was Crimson's promotion, and I would help him book it. It was still his thing, but like I would do it with him, you know, and we would call in favors from a lot of our friends because we were still working at TNA at the time, and we would get brother rates. And there were still a lot of people who lived in Nashville too. Rebel was a regular because she lived in Nashville. Madison Rain was semi-regular because she lived in Nashville. Crazy Steve lived in Nashville. You know what I mean? So it was like we would use a lot of these people all the time, and and we would bring in, like, I booked Jeff Hardy one time, we booked Bobby Lashley one time. So I think that's the only reason they probably even showed up on there, is just because of some of the name power that we were bringing in. But like, you know, it was most of the stuff I've done would never be on Cage Match. I mean, I've been involved in a gajillion matches, whether as a manager, a commentator, a ring announcer, or in the ring. And really, I've probably only wrestled serious like 5 times. Every other time I've been getting my ass kicked everywhere in comedy match or stuck in. We did do a flag match in Clarksville where I had said, if we win, then the Italian flag gets hung and the American flag's got to come down. Clarksville's a military town. This is serious business. It sounds ridiculous, but they were into it. And they hated us because we had been running around for like 2 years there. So we lost, though. Just a spoiler alert, the American flag is still up. But
well, I saw that you worked with Tony Cosina, and that's kind of a F for me too, because Tony Cosina was the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Champion back in 2001.
Yeah,
and he was like a Portland, like Pacific Northwest guy.
Yeah,
and then he spent a lot of time in Tennessee. With Davey Richards.
That's when we met him, when he was traveling with Davey in like 2008 or something, you know, on some random indie shots or whatever.
They were regulars for a while with
Givens.
Tony Givens.
Yeah.
And then, in fact, they had that feud with Chase Owens. And Tony came on my podcast back in 2008, 2009, 2010, something like that. And totally ripped me and ripped Chase Owens. It was great. I loved Tony Cosina. But he's been with like New Japan for a while too. So like that time
he was at that dojo, in
New Zealand.
Yeah, he's back now. I think he's back in the States.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that, but I always liked Tony. He also he spent some time with NWA or Championship Wrestling from Hollywood was NWA Pro Wrestling, and before that it was a part of it was like the New Japan USA before. New Japan Strong, and this is like in 2003. And Cosina was a part of that too.
Well, Cosina was tightening his boots when Christ was a kid. I mean, Blair's been around forever, and I've known Tony for a long time, and he was part of the crew too. And then he ended up going to do that thing, and so I got some replacements for him. But Cosina, it was just me and him. We came out at a TNT show around Christmas to beat up on Santa, and Santa gave us stunners and all that.
Nice.
And they just said something like, "This is the Powerhouse Paisans" or something. And he's like, "That's a cool name. We got it." I was like, "What?" Okay. And it would be like rotating. Like I would do a show and Francisco Chiazzo would be on it. And I'm like, "You're a Paisan today?" He goes, "Well, I am." And I am. I'm like, I know. And I know. But outside of Francisco and Tony, everybody else in the group we were the only ones that were actually of Italian heritage. This one guy, I named him Pasquale, and Actually, Shiloh Jones was a paisan for a night at from the Outrunners. I can't remember what his name is now, but that was his name back then. But he was a paisan for a night at some fundraiser we did, and the prop guy gimmicked Double J's guitar wrong, and he hit me and it didn't break, and I got a concussion.
Was it not gimmicked correctly, or was it the wrong guitar?
That thing was reinforced.
Shit.
But it was me and Tony, and then we had Trey Lamar, who actually he was like, my mom's actually Italian. I was like, cool, you're Trey Lamario. But it was funny because I would always tell people it would be like me, Nikki, Pasquale, these other people. I'm like, who's Italian in this group besides me? And they'd always pick one of them. I said, no, black kid over there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Me and him. That's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Trey is really good. Trey Lamar. I know I forget what circuit he's working, but he's really good too. Really good high flyer. I found him up in Cleveland at Absolute Intent. I was up there hanging out, and it was like the Back to the Future Cup or something. And it was like him, Josh Bishop. There was a bunch of them in it. And I went over to John. I said, when can I get some of these guys in Tennessee? He goes, whenever you want them. They're ready now.
Yeah.
And I was like, give me Trey, Bishop, and there was this other kid who did like a 720 Phoenix Blast, something crazy. I was like, I just want you to do that move. I don't care what else you do. And,
you can do nothing else but
yeah.
that.
And they came down. They were good kids too, but they were really good. But Trey's really good. I wish I could slide him in the NWA somehow. You know, sometimes I've been able to pull people in, sometimes I can't. You know?
I was going to ask you, like, do you still get to scout? Like, do you give suggestions to Billy, like, hey, you should check this guy out, or
I have before, but I don't overload him. He's got he's got his band, he's got this, he's got the NWA and everybody in it. There are times where I'll say, hey, you know, have you ever heard of this person? Blah, blah, blah. I think they would fit here, you know, but you know, it's the main time that I'd never really scouted anybody or did that for them. It would just be something where they would say, we're going to be in Nashville or around here. Do you know somebody? We need somebody for this. Do you know somebody who could fit this? And some of those people stuck around, and some of them we never saw again. But I've booked quote unquote people that way, but generally when I'm asked, I don't like to push it. You know what I mean? If I can help somebody, I will. But you know what I'm saying? It's like,
was Taylor one of those guys you brought in?
Yeah,
he's great.
Yeah, Alex, we got him on Crimson's crew.
Okay.
So Mims came from that crew. Jake, because they were guys who were training at TNT school with Plunkett and Tom, Steve, and me.
Yeah.
And, you know, Jake and them, and we got Alex on the crew. And because Alex was one of the only Nashville regulars that was on the TNT show.
Yeah.
And I was able to get him on that. Crim's like, I like him, bring him back. And so then he became eventually, you know, because he was still coming up then. But yeah, he came through there. A couple people, you know, and usually it's just hey, I need somebody for this. Okay, you know, Larry D. Like, we need a heavyweight for Nashville. I was able to get Larry D. And they liked him and used him for a little bit. And you know, that's how Kenzie got there.
Yeah.
They needed extra. They needed extra for the taping. We came back from the COVID, and I was like, yeah, I got somebody. And then she did the rest, but you know what I mean? She just needs somebody to open the door for her. I didn't do anything other than book her.
Without sounding like a weirdo here, Kenzie is amazing. When she walked through the door, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful in any way, but you could see how much work she's put in, not only in her wrestling, but her appearance, her size, her conditioning. She is almost like a different person, and she looks fantastic.
Yeah.
And I feel like there was a big divide when Camille left. There was like, you know, the thought was when Camille leaves that there's going to be a void. And you had Markova, who was good. And I don't think Tiffany Nieves had really gotten her foot in the door yet. But, you know, you had Kenzie, and Kenzie was kind of like the thorn in Camille's side, where she was always put into these title matches with her. And you, like, at the time I thought, well, why are Kenzie getting these matches? Why aren't we getting a more higher profile opponent for Camille? But I feel like Kenzie benefited from those matches with Camille, because you see Kenzie today. And I'm not saying that, you know, Camille made her that way. I'm just saying, like, those matches, you know, steel sharpens steel, and Kenzie's fantastic. And And as good as I think Kenzie is, and I don't want to get
He's not done yet.
But I think Kylie's even better. I know she just got hurt, but I think Kylie has the potential to be the biggest star from the NWA.
Yeah, we'll see. Apple didn't fall from the tree, right? I mean,
she just turned 21. I know. And I'm like, how does she get this good at such a young age? Yeah. Like, she seems like, and I get it, she's in a wrestling family. I get it.
Yeah, but that doesn't always translate though. At the same time, I mean, we could play the name game with second and third generation wrestlers that nobody cares. You know what I mean?
But, no, you're absolutely right. There's got to be some hard work. There's got to be some work involved.
Well, and those girls work all the time though too. Like they're doing indies and stuff, and whether it's on the radar or something that everybody knows about. I mean, they're working all the time, and they go train all the time, and they'll go train with Jazz. They'll still train with Tom, Dr. Tom, and you know what I mean? So they're always trying to get better. Tiffany Nieves is like that too. She's an animal. She's always traveling, wrestling, training. Like she's after it, And
you could see like Tiffany Nieves, like, okay, so she's working in Cleveland, and then now she's in Houston working with Reality of Wrestling, and then she's doing Power, and then like, wow, that's some dedication. She's putting some mileage in to get to all these different opportunities.
Yeah. They're going after it. You know what I mean? Sometimes when you trying to make it as a talent in anything entertainment, sometimes you got to be balls to the walls if you can. You know what I mean? And just go. I think sometimes too. I guess it's also the thought of if I don't, I'll always be mad later that I didn't try a little harder. That kind of thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. I feel like that's the mentality that all those girls have. So not just them. I mean, there's other people too, but you know what I'm saying? That's who we're talking about currently. So yeah, I mean, maybe that's what it is. I don't know,
So let's talk about Mama Storm. How did, so the opportunity was presented, and I know that's how a lot of people get their opportunity in the NWA. Just happen to be at the right place at the right time. I know that Silas Mason and Hoyle Damar was kind of just thrown together to see if it worked. What was your expectation coming into the NWA as Mama Storm? You said you're working production, you're working stage manager, but and obviously with the merchandise and stuff. But to
I wasn't even doing that yet.
Oh, you weren't even doing the merch yet.
Not yet.
So it's just being a stage manager, and all of a sudden now you're given the opportunity to be an on-screen performer.
Well, I'd done stuff before, so it wasn't like I was like, But no, look. Timmy Storm, he just, Jax is my friend. They had unfinished business. And I had actually known Tim going back to like 08, 09 when me and Schultz used to work for Matt Riviera in Arkansas.
Oh, yeah.
Back when Tim had long hair, handlebar mustache, all that, you know what I mean? Way back, you know what I mean?
And wore the duster and all that.
Yeah, Jax had some unfinished business. And so, I just said, okay, here we go. I'm going to, poke a little fun at Timmy, and which I think he was actually really mad at for a little bit.
I think so too.
I said, I'm going to mess with Tim here, and then I'm going to come out and bring out Jax in my oversized jacket because I had not brought any Dealz clothes with me and sent somebody to a thrift store or somewhere. I don't know. But anyway, I decided I was going to try to get Jax in there. You know what I mean? He had unfinished business. They had to have that match. Remember, they had that Falls Count Anywhere. They went all over the sound stage and all that. And,
I think that was the last match that aired before COVID.
Yeah, it was. And then Tim assaulted me. He gave me.
Was he the reason you were wearing the neck brace, or was that Medusa?
It was Medusa.
Son of a bitch.
I mean, look. I was nearly in a body cast after Tim assaulted me and gave me back-to-back Eye of the Storms.
Right.
But COVID happened, so none of you guys ever saw it. But I wasn't feeling too good after that either. But no, Medusa put me in the brace. And, I still may run into her. I mean, who knows? I might end up at the Squared Circle Expo.
I thought it was going to happen at WrestleCade,
Yeah. I actually didn't see her at WrestleCade. I think she was there. Was she not there?
I don't know.
Oh,
I want to go to a WrestleCade. I haven't ever been. I don't really do the convention things when it comes to wrestling, but I think that would be one that would be worth going to because the sheer size of it. There's so many people there, and then there's always typically good events that run with it. TNA did their pay-per-view there, but then there was also the WrestleCade events as well. So,
well, it's gotten bigger every year. I've done about 10 of them, and it's gotten bigger every year. And I've gone multiple times. There was a year where me, Crazy Steve, and Rebel, we would joke that we were the convention freebirds because we would do every kind of convention. We do PopCon, we do Comic Cons, we do horror conventions like Days of the Dead, and we do WrestleCade, or we do whatever. And then Demon Bunny, I worked one with Global Force with Jeff in Texas. And then I did a couple for TNA, but me and the girls, Demon Bunny, we went and did a bunch of them. And WrestleCade was always our favorite. You know, WrestleCon is very big, but WrestleCade is got to be the next biggest. It's gotten bigger every year. I think there's 20,000 fans there this year, they said.
Yeah.
There used to be one room for the meet and greets. This year, was 5.
Did you ever do any of Greg Price's NWA fan fests? I know they were never really directly connected to the NWA, but he had permission to use the name for quite some time, and he did those fan fests.
No.
I think those predated WrestleCade. I think WrestleCade might have actually replaced them.
I don't think I worked any kind of convention in any capacity because I've done a bunch of them as a vendor. I've done more as a vendor than as a talent.
Yeah.
But I think the first one I did was in 2016 with Double J in Texas at WrestleCon. And then that same year, that's when me, Steve, and Rebel did a bunch that year. We started doing all kinds of conventions that year together. And then the next year, I remember we did some together, and I did some with one for TNA, and then me, Jackson Crimson. I think we did WrestleCade. And then after that, I did a bunch with Bunny and Demon and stuff like that. Started first Starcast and all that kind of. We used to do all of them. You know, WrestleCade was always the favorite, and I love WrestleCade. It's a good time, and I drink a lot of beer at WrestleCade Saturday night after we're done working.
One of the coolest experiences from '75 is when EC3 won the title. I was in the bar with Gary Horn and oddly enough Mecha Wolf, Monster Wolf's the band, and EC3's coming around buying shots for everybody, and I'm there, and he just hands me the shot, so I take the shot, because if the champ buys you a shot of Jack, you
gotta have it.
I think it'd be rude if I didn't, right?
Gotta have it. I was drinking somewhere there, but it wasn't in the bar for that. But I have been present for a world title win by EC3, and he bought everybody all the drinks, and you guys partying with me? Come on, let's go. Like he can get annihilated, but he was getting stuff for everybody. Yeah.
I think that's a classy move, and I think it's a great way to send to a message to send to the locker room. And I don't want to speak any ill will of the former champion, but I feel like that was a good time to come together as a locker room and be like, hey, we got a new champion, a new direction. And shortly after that, the move to CW, obviously that didn't stick around, but I feel like the power has been improving. I feel like the show gets better.
Production's gotten better.
100%. And I liked the Nashville, the Skyline Studios.
Skyway, yeah.
Skyline,
Chile in Cincinnati or Toledo or somewhere.
Yeah.
Skyway. Yeah.
Skyway. Excuse me. And then you guys ended up heading out to Tampa, and it seems like that might be the home for the at least the power tapings, not the signature live events.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a great venue too. It looks good on TV, and the way you guys have it lit, it looks very professional. Again, that's a huge point. This doesn't look like an NWA that was filmed on high 8. It looks really good stuff. But obviously this weekend you guys go back to Dothan. You guys had a huge crowd last year for the Hard Times, and I mean that was. Watching that show made my heart so happy, and it wasn't because of the wrestling was so great, but just to see an NWA ring with that many people surrounding it. Yeah, it looked great on TV or YouTube or whatever. How was it? How did you feel being in that environment? How did the office feel about that environment?
I'm sure everybody loved it. I was actually worried when they said we were going to Dothan, because Sal and I had been there for a house show 10 years earlier, and the draw was not good. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh no, Dothan. And but we went there, and it was packed out. And some of the people watched the show. Some were new to it. Some of them definitely watched it because, like, when Joe and I come out, you've been there. It's not like they announce us and there's no pyro and ballyhoo. And there were people who would come up to the stage and be like, Joe, Danny. And we would turn and take a picture with them. So I was like, well, they must watch if they know who we are.
Yeah.
Right. It wasn't everybody, but what I really liked about it is that they were fans. They were fans. That was it. There was no, you know what I mean? Like the snarky fan was about.
There weren't people like me there.
No, and I'm not saying that, but you know what I'm saying? Like the people that hate everything but what got them in the business, and they hate watch everything. Like that segment was like this much.
Yeah, no.
Cheered the faces, they booed the heels. If they didn't like something, they sat on their hands. If they liked it, they cheered. You know what I mean? It was just like,
that crowd, I think, had to be so refreshing because of some of the other venues. Like, again, I was in Forney, and Forney was a mixed bag. The guy sitting next to me who had front row tickets, like,
I feel like there were some new people to the show. Yeah,
he never had watched the NWA before. He's like, I used to live in Tampa. I'd go to NXT all the time, or Orlando. I used to go to NXT all the time, but now I just moved to Texas and I saw that there was a wrestling event, so I came. I'm like, well, you picked the right place to be, my friend, because there was a good night of wrestling there. And
I will say this about that too. I checked before I went up to the Crow's Nest call, and I checked on the merch people, and I saw the numbers, and I was like, and that's because I saw people come in and go straight to the thing. When I came down at the end of the night, I checked the numbers. We had doubled what it was before. So I was like, okay, well, then we made some new fans, clearly, because I could tell, like, people would get into it, but like when somebody comes out, sometimes you could tell if they watch or they don't. You know what I mean? Because they're kind of like, okay, what's this here? Let's see who this is. You know what I mean? And then they get into it and all that. So I could tell there was a lot of new fans there, and there were some in Dothan too. But there was definitely some people who had watched the show and followed it, and it was good. But you're going to have that when you're going into new markets, and it's a crowded marketplace. You know what I mean? And it's like you're going to have that. You're going to go places where people go, okay, I'm going to check this out. I don't really watch it normally, but you're there to get them to, come back. See, it's pretty cool, wasn't it? So,
and I think too, like, the other thing is we talk about, entertainment options. We talk about pro wrestling. I don't recall the last time I saw WWE head to Alabama for a live event, let alone a pay-per-view or a big taping. And I don't think I saw AEW, run an event in Alabama. And I'm not saying that Alabama doesn't deserve quality wrestling. What I'm saying is I think it's smart that you guys are going to markets that are kind of being ignored by some of the bigger brands. Like TNA Wrestling, they've been going everywhere as of late. They're center stage. They're going to come to Los Angeles next year. But I think it's cool that, a place like Dothan, Alabama probably doesn't get a lot of WWE, doesn't probably get a lot of AEW, or, it's not getting MLW. It's not getting TNA Wrestling. So for the NWA to come in twice a year, I mean, that's huge. And they responded to the first time you guys went there. I'm really excited to see how they represent second time. Mm-hmm. And hopefully it becomes a loop for the NWA on an annual basis or biannual basis, because if you build it and they come, I think that's the best compliment you could have for your wrestling promotion.
Yeah, I think I was talking to the building guy. I think he said that was the first time wrestling had been in that building in since I think the last time Sal and I were there. But I don't know that those other brands necessarily ignore markets. I think they go to markets and then they go away and then come back. They can't miss you if you don't go away. I think it's more in that. Well, if you're going to do year-round touring, you kind of have to look at it a little different like that. But
and I guess that I don't mean ignore, but like, so I live.
Yeah, nobody's really doing it, so why not? Right?
Yeah. Well, I live in Southern California, but I don't live in Los Angeles. I live a lot further east. But we get WWE coming into the Ontario Convention Center.
Inland Empire. Is that
you got it. You got it. And that's kind of like the sticks, right? But we get the WWE coming to Ontario all the time, and even AEW has ran events there, and even some of the yesteryear's promotions like the Masked Warriors, Lucha Libre
USA.
Ontario.
Yeah, we did a loop there, Ontario and Visalia. Yeah.
Okay.
Years ago. Me and Sal. And Dewey Barnes turned 21 on that loop, and we took him to a bar down the street from our hotel. It was in like.
Do you remember the promotion?
Yeah, it was when me and Sal were on the truck for TNA. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
like
okay.
2012 or 11, 12, maybe 2012. And Dewey Burns turned 21, so we took him down the street from our hotel to this bar. And it was a Mexican bar. And I came outside, and the guy goes, "What do you want?" And I said, "It's his 21st birthday. We just want to buy him some beers." He goes, "It's Spanish music night." I said, "I feel like it is every night." And he goes, "It is." And he goes, "All right, you guys come in." And we came in. It was a good time. You know what I mean? Yeah. They had some kind of, I can't remember the name of the beer. It was, I've had some Mexican beers, but this was, I didn't recognize the brand, but it was like, if you buy one, we'll give you another. I'm like, well, this must be their Black Label, Milwaukee's Light, whatever. This is their bet.
Right.
That's what we drank. But we took Dewey to it. But I was in Visalia. Visalia was a ballpark. Ontario was like a convention center or something.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Yeah. I've been there. I'll tell you, for me, I'll go anywhere they send me. But California, everything is so expensive.
Yeah. No, people always ask, do you think the NWA is going to come to Los Angeles? And I'm like, why? What's like, and this is an Angelino, this is a Southern Californian.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a smart business idea. I think you could go to.
We might, right? You don't know. We might, but
there are better venues and better options, I think, for the NWA. And again, if the NWA did come to California, I'd absolutely go to the show.
Sure.
EC3 came out for a title defense. I made sure I was at that event. I literally got home from Arizona the day early just so I could go to that match.
Yeah. But you never know. At some point, if you continue to expand, at some point you've got to go in that direction. You don't necessarily have to, but there's no reason not to. At least to the Southwest.
There's so much competition in Southern California with all of the indies that I feel like. And I'm not trying to poo-poo the idea, but I feel like there's better markets that are underserved that would be more appreciative of the wrestling that the NWA presents.
Yeah.
Where you come to LA, you try to impress a bunch of assholes.
Well, that's another part of the job that I don't do also is deciding where we're going. But but yeah, I know, we do have some West Coast people who would probably enjoy it. They didn't have to get on such a long flight, but
there's something kind of cool about being able to jump on a plane to go fly somewhere to do your job. I've never asked him personally, but I'm sure Captain Yuma enjoys getting in that airplane to help with the pre-show production and stuff and staging and stuff. And
Yumski's he's a California brother.
Yeah,
that's where I met him years ago out there. I don't remember where, but I do remember.
It might have been TNA because he was there for a while too.
He did a gut check. Yeah. No, I had talked to him one time. We worked an entire taping together, and I didn't realize I'd known him previously. And I ran across some article, and Richard Cameron was on there, and so was Lars Only. And I came the next taping. I went in there. I went to G's. I'm like, hey. Afro, X Division, but he goes, I knew you from somewhere. I'm like, I knew you too. The same thing I was like, Lars Only. He goes, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
They both look so different, and it had been so many years. It had been 10 years at the least that I just didn't none of us recognize each other, at all.
My oldest daughter, she's 20. I've been taking her wrestling show since she was 5. One of the first shows she ever watched was a Hollywood TV taping. And Johnny Yuma was there with his tag team partner, Kevin Martinson, Rockness Monsters. Mm-hmm. That was her favorite tag team. In fact, we even bought her one of these from one of the promotions.
Oh, yeah.
SoCal Pro figure. So she loved this guy. She went to all them. Anytime I took her to wrestling, that was her favorite, was Johnny Yuma. So then at the Crockett Cup in Nashville, at the new fairgrounds.
Oh, when we beat him up and threw him out? Alex
I brought her there. And Yuma popped for seeing my daughter as much as my daughter popped for seeing Yuma because she didn't know he was going to be there. And so she was like, oh, my God, it's Johnny Yuma. And he's like, oh, my God, it's Lily. And it was really cute. And then you guys beat his ass
and kicked him out. Yeah.
Kicked him out of the Begotten.
Alex gave him the cradle shot looking gimmick. Yeah.
Then JP put some hands on him, too.
He did. He was lucky I didn't. He was in real trouble. Yeah, and we had to kick him out of the. That's a good, the Ill Begotten was originally it was like him and like Rush, and then it was him, Rush, and Plunkett, and it was him and Plunkett and Alex. Then it was me, Plunkett, and Alex. We kicked him out, and then I think Rush was kind of there, and then we kicked him out. I can't remember now.
Rush was still around until towards the end, and then you guys did the whole double switch on him, and then he did the double switch on you guys.
Yeah. We got him out of there.
Do you miss?
What was funny is that when that group formed, I don't think that Billy was aware that I'd known Plunkett for 15 years and I knew Alex for 10 years, and that we all lived in Nashville and had done indie shows together forever. I don't think he had any idea.
Probably not. And this isn't a shot at Billy, but like, there's no way he can know all that stuff. I mean,
no, how would he?
No, it's funny because Alex Taylor, you said you've known him for 10 years. He seems like a young guy. I don't know him well.
I met him. I think it's been about 10. He was a baby. I went to a indie show in Gladeville to say hi to some people on this bad show. You know what I mean? But he was there. There's a show that runs there now, and it's not a bad show, but it was like one of those like off the radar. And I met him there. He was not too long out of the Black and Blue. Was Seth Rollins' school? Black and Blue.
Black and Blue. Yeah.
We wasn't too far out of that. Babyface, and you know what I mean. I remember a song. I was like, I gotta get this kid out of here. You know what I mean? So I got him out there, started taking him to shows that I would do stuff with me and stuff like that.
Did you?
Because he had talent. I was like, you're gonna get, you can run in mud here.
Was it gratifying for you to kind of be like that surrogate father to bring some of the talents out of these shithole places to bring them to better shows?
I don't know. I just want people to succeed. I don't know that I look for any. You know, I mean,
no. I'm not saying I'm not saying you're chasing a hug or expecting a pat on the back, but I mean, it's got to be. You got to feel good about like some of the good that you've done, right?
It's cool to see some of that stuff, but a lot of those people, they had it anyway. Sometimes you need somebody to be like, no, don't listen to that GPS. Go this way. That's all. You know what I mean? That's it. It was like I said, when I booked Kenzie as an extra, I just opened the door for her. As soon as she got there, they were like, who is this person? As soon as she got there. So it was some people, it's already there and they're still, growing and all that. It wasn't like I molded these people. Sometimes you got to help somebody out. You know what I mean? That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I had to pull Alex out of there, and just like, you're going to run in mud here. And, he would still work every show under the sun, but he would get excited when I say, hey, man, we got a TNT show coming up or something big. Oh, fuck yeah, man. Because those shows drew too. So it was a different level. Like Crimson had a whole team of people that would get sponsors and promote and all that. We always drew at least 1,000. Like it was at the, Wilma Rudolph, and they were just bigger shows. And so he'd always be like, can we do this every weekend, man? I'm like, I don't think it's possible.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to be down in BFE Georgia tomorrow in front of 15 people, in some armory.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's got to be kind of gratifying. Like maybe you didn't you didn't have to.
It's cool to see some people continue to go this way, and that you were right about them. And
I mean, you managed Jeremiah Plunkett, you managed Alex Taylor. Now you're talking about the World Junior Heavyweight Champion and the NWA Mid America Champion.
Yeah, and Plunkett was more of a peer though too, because him and I were basically at the same level. We were just traveling together and doing shows together, and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And I don't know if he told you about when we were in Carrier Mills, Illinois, which is like a no stoplight town where they think everything's real. And we really had to use Carney to talk to the babyface because everything was in his car, and like him and I basically had to fight back to the locker room, which was a coffee house. Because we were looking for Schultz. We thought they got him in the crowd, and there was no barrier and there was no real security. And he didn't. He was back in the locker room by the time we got back there, and we wanted to kill him. He was stuck out there. He's like, you guys all right? What are you doing? And we're like, and not like we weren't doing like, Cobra Kai moves to get back there, but it was all that move, get, just kind of having to get through the crowd and people, I'm going to get you.
Almost like a mosh pit to get to the back, right?
Yeah, and we went to some local bar, and some guy decided he was going to try to fight Crimson, and me and Plunkett were in there, and like they were calling us outsiders, like children of the corn, because he had grabbed the dude up, and I was like, bring it up, and it was wild, man. But there were those. That's what I'm talking about, like that stuff that nobody's ever seen it, and the whole town would be there. I mean, it'd be jammed, but I think some of them thought it was legit. Like there was a parade the day before because it was like some like Catskin days or something. Like we were in the bad guy car. I mean, this guy Lonnie Kealoha would, because we're bad guys, right? So we would eat the candy and throw the wrapper out to the kids. And like it was wild. You know what I mean? And then we went like an hour this way to work some show at like this minor league ballpark, and and then had to come back down to do day 2, and somehow Kevin Thorne ended up with us. He's like, "Can I come too?" We're like, "Yeah." He's like, "All right, I ain't got nothing to do." And so we go down there, and but that's Plunkett he was on those trips. So we were peers, him and I, you know what I mean? So
when you write the book, I'd love to do the preface for you.
I don't know. There are a lot of the really good stories I would never probably tell. Not that anybody, not that there's like some bodies buried anywhere, but I just
you don't want to bury any bodies.
No, you don't know what somebody might have, got out of business and, married a nice woman and was living a good life. And I'm like, yeah, this brother right here.
I understand that more than you know.
Those were the best times, though. Like the fun stuff that you'll miss is the camaraderie and the boys and the all that kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff you'll miss. All the dumb shit that happens on the way to where like that. Me and Chills did this. Him, Rudy Charles did this goofy trip up to North Dakota. We were up there for like 2 weeks doing 10 shows. They were bought shows, so the money was there.
Yeah.
But we talked our way on to some bar show in Minnesota on the way up, where the people in the bar, there was a ring there, but like it was outside. They had no idea the show was going to happen. And the girl just grabbed the microphone. She started going, "All right, guys, blah, blah, blah." And these people are looking like, "What in the hell is this?" Like some pipe fitter bar, you know what I mean? Like, what's happening? And then, on the way back, we talked our way on some show in Wisconsin. It was in a park because it was like July 4th, and it was real, but it like there's a ton of goofy stuff that happened on that trip. That's just,
Like, wait, were you like on Trent Van Dies's board or something, and just looking for shows that were upcoming?
Old Trent, I remember that board.
I knew if I name dropped it, it would at least perk up the ears a little bit.
Yeah, old Trenton. I think that board still exists too, actually.
It does, because I literally looked for the results for the Return to the Territories, and thinking that someone would have posted them there. Nope.
No. No, it was some kind of my indie traveling tour was right before I started working for TNA. Like it was that was like 2 days after I came back from North Dakota. But like I forget, it was like slowing down, and then I started doing I had some like job, I can't remember, but like Rudy was just like, "Hey, do you guys want to trip with me? It's like 2 weeks, spot shows, this is what you'll make. We got to do it. There's like 10 shows, be up there for 2 weeks." And I was like, "Yep." I was like, "Hey, I quit." And I was like, "All right." We went and did that. But when we were driving up, Schultz was a Smothers kid. Like he was on the road with Tracy forever. So all those people, and there's a ton of them, right? They're all over the place. And they all know how to find like a random Tuesday that's going to give us 75 a piece in the middle of nowhere. Like they can just find stuff. And he's like, "Yeah, there's a show going on in Minnesota right here at a bar." And we're like, "What?" And this is pre-smartphone.
Yeah.
I mean, there were smartphones, but everybody didn't have them. Right.
Right.
And it was just some show. And it was like, I don't even remember. Like, I can't remember now. I remember the ropes weren't tight. And the guy was like, "Yeah, the ropes are a prop." Sean's like, "No, they're not. Why are your ropes not tight?" And we did this show. And then like on the way back, I don't even know how Rudy had found it, but he's like, "Yeah, there's this thing in Wisconsin." He's talking to the guy on the phone. The guy's like, "Yeah, you guys come on," we did it or whatever, but the other ones had been booked already. It was some kind of loop. And I guess he was like, "Hey, a couple guys?" He goes, "I do actually." And some nights I managed, other nights me and Shaw tagged. It just depended on where we were at, but it was crazy, but it's like stuff like that. Like nobody ever knows any of that happened. It's just, it just happened. There's no, nothing,
It's one of those things. I think it's amazing, but I also feel like if I were in your shoes, I'd be a little sad that there wasn't that history of that. Cause that's a lot of, it might not mean a lot to somebody, but it would mean a lot to certain people. Like for me, I'm not a big legacy guy. Like I know when I'm gone, I'm gone. and the little I did to help out in the world hopefully gets remembered by the right people. But you guys were on shows, you were providing entertainment, and in a world of so many wrestling journalists and so many bloggers and
weren't a ton back then though. There were some, but not wasn't everything's it was just a different time. And I think we just looked at it because it was that time, and that's what it was. And it's like, if you want anybody to ever see what you do or know who you are, there's this place, there's this place, kind of that place, and that's it. You know what I mean? It was like I knew guys at that time that would go to Puerto Rico and be there for a while and come back, and nobody knows anything they did there. You know what I mean? But some people would, but you dig what I'm saying. Like, like, when I was talking about, I had the website with Demon Bunny, like those girls were feuding up in Canada and doing all this cool stuff. It's like, nobody even knew it ever happened. So when we started doing the website and we had a YouTube show, we reintroduced their former personalities on the YouTube show. And then we got a set of the DVDs from Smash up there to sell. And people were like, "Ooh, what is this?" And like, they had no idea because they'd never, you know what I mean? And it might be a little easier to find right now, but like at the time, it's just like, it's like it never happened. You know what I mean? It's like the Twilight Zone, but you just looked at it like, I always looked at it like I was going to college or something, you know what I mean? And, or when I was in broadcast school, I had to do intern hours, a certain amount of intern hours to graduate, and I had my own cable access show, but I also ended up shooting like high school hockey and high school basketball, or, pulling cable for this guy at this thing, or you're just like, I got to get these hours in or whatever, and that's just how I viewed it. It was like an intern or college, and I didn't, the stories are fun. I mean, I guess it would be cool if somebody knew, but at the same time, the other thing that happens too as a performer is you look back at your old stuff and go, "Oh God, it's terrible." Nobody ever sees that, you know what I mean? Which I think all of her stuff wasn't terrible, but it's just one of those things, you know what I mean? It's like the lost episodes, the indies. I mean, they were like the Wild West at that time. It was, it wouldn't be unusual to drive 200 miles for $20.
Yeah.
Or to drive 300 miles for a promise that you didn't get, and the promoter tried to run out on it. I've been at a show like that. The guy was in the main event and took a bump, rolled out of the ring, walked out of the back of the Evansville Coliseum. Yeah, I've seen that happen too. So you mean it's just kind of that Wild West style, It's cool though. I mean, I kind of wish that world still existed for like young talents now, but at the same time, knowing, there's a dark side to that too. At the same time, so sometimes you're like, I'm kind of glad it isn't. You know what I mean?
I mean, to that extent, no. I think it's mostly gone, but there's still shady promoters out there. Even recently,
that's a tale as old as time.
Yeah, even recently there was a promotion that was running in San Diego, and it was focusing on African American talent, and it was supposed to kind of be like a real life I forgot the name of that game, but there was a video game that used a lot of hip hop artists and made it into a wrestling game. Anyways, the show had booked a lot of legitimate talent. Like I think John Gresham was there.
Yeah,
there was some really solid talent, and they
screwed everybody over on the money.
Yeah, they didn't even run the show, and the fans there did they had a meet and greet, and the wrestlers just, out of obligation, out of just being good guys, did the meet and greet, but they didn't get paid for shit.
Yeah.
So the promoter just didn't even show up.
Did he pay for their flights at least?
Yeah, no, I think they did it outside. I think, they might have sold some merch, but no one got what they were supposed to.
No, of course not. Yeah. And you're eliminating another booking for this at the same time. Yeah. So it's kind of a double whammy. And I mean, of course things like that still happen, but you know what I mean? It's just those old days were wild.
We do live in a better world today, and I'm glad that the talent don't get taken advantage of as much, but it still happens. Danny, I was planning to have you on for an hour, but we've been going for such a long time, and we're gonna have you on again soon because this was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But we do need to plug, of course, Looks at Kill. That's happening Saturday, December 14th.
In Dothan. That's right.
Dothan.
NBA Picks, or NWALiveEvents.com. Sorry. It was NWA Tix, because Kyle would always say it. NWA Tix, NWATIX.com, but it's NWALiveEvents.com.
When you leave, you don't leave
Tomorrow.
Saturday, right?
No, I'm leaving tomorrow. No, I got to drive a truck down there. I've got all kinds of elements of production. I've got some merchandise, got some other stuff. So I got to drive it down there. I'm going to bring weapons and things like that because I'm assuming, there are 2 cage matches. I'm going to assume everybody isn't playing by the rules. So
sure.
I'm going to bring everything I got. I'm going to throw it in a truck tomorrow morning about 9 a.m. I'm going to drive down Dothan, dump the truck there, have a few beers at the hotel, give Kevin Keenan a bunch of jib because his Eagles are playing my Stillers on Sunday. And I'm sure he'll have plenty to say. And then Saturday we'll do the show, and then Sunday I'll come back in the truck. So yeah, I leave tomorrow.
What time does your day start on a signature live event? Like what time are you there, and then what time do you come home?
I'm there at 9 a.m.
9 a.m. and then you're there just till midnight?
Midnight or whenever I'm done.
It's a long day.
It is.
Good work, but that's a long day.
That's life in the TV business. But that's what, and again, a couple other gigs I had in the business prepared me for that. You know what I mean? Working for the Harris Brothers and Aero Lucha, or even working all those years at TNA for Universal. It's just one of those things where we're just going to be here. You know what I mean?
I want to have you back in 25, and I want to talk some about Aero Lucha because that I never really got to it, but it always interested me. And you got to have some stories for me about Aero Lucha.
Yeah, they drew too, and then it just stopped.
And I know Willie Mack was there, and
that's where I met Thunder Rosa. Kylie Ray was on it. Taya, I knew Taya. Storm was on it. Me, Storm, and I think Hoovy had some beers after one of the shows, and I feel like Hoovy was talking about how the Earth was flat or something. I can't remember.
How does the guy? And maybe you can't answer this for me, but Juventud Guerrera, I don't know where he lives now, but I recently was in Tijuana, Mexico, and I saw him wrestling there. How does he have the heavyweight championship in KFW?
He just does. I don't think he won it.
Does he live in Tennessee?
No.
That's wild.
I don't know where he lives, but he's the champ.
I was glad to see him at the Return to the Territories, and I was kind of hoping we'd see more of him in the future. But
I mean, we might. Who knows, man? The juice, he's still got the belt. I think he kept it at Black Harvest, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's got the belt, and I don't know. I don't know how it works, but he's the champ. They have a show when the champ's there, and he is there. But he
is there, and that's the important part. He shows up, and can I be proud of somebody I've never met? He shows up.
Yeah, he does. I mean, he's there when they ask him to be there. He's there. He doesn't no show or nothing. He's there. Works hard. He's never. I mean, I don't know him well, but anytime I've been around him, he's cool. So.
I'm just saying, like we had a lot of Jack Cartwheel, but I would love to see Juventud Guerrera versus Alex.
Yeah, old Jackie Jack. Yeah, we did have some Jack Cartwheel, but
he just got ID. Do you think he'll be back?
I don't know. I mean, maybe. I don't know how that really operates. You know what I mean? It's could be one of those things where no matter the platform, if it's shot. Unless we approve it, no. I mean, I don't know. I really don't. I have no idea. I saw Jackson at WrestleCade. I didn't ask him. I just said, "Hey, I saw you on that poster. I knew you'd be the one that we're going to pick." And he was like, "Oh, I didn't know." I'm like, "Hey, did," but I don't really know how that operates. But maybe maybe we will, or maybe it'll open the door for somebody else that is either new to us or familiar, like Juice, or. Could be somebody else like, I mean, I never knew Alex Misery before he was in NWA, and he's crazier than a son of a bitch. And, what I mean? So, might open the door for somebody like that.
Well, and I guess that's one of the great things about the territory system is that before, you had to know a guy to be introduced to the NWA. But now that there's this wide net of, 7 promotions now working under that NWA banner from Chicago to
look at Exodus, Carson Drake, Tiffany Nieves, Slime Balls. I mean, so, I mean, you can name them all, but I'm just naming that,
Yeah. No, and then I think Hunter Drake got picked up too, but I know he was on your guys' radar.
AFW, yeah. We might not have seen the last Tyler Franks too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if he's booked in the future, but I know they liked him.
Tyler Shoop, JB Smooth. There's a lot of guys I think would work very well on that power roster, and that's I think the great thing is like, okay, so Billy is not Tony Khan, and he's not Vince McMahon. He's not a Triple H.
I dig what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. He doesn't have the purse strings that those guys have. And at some point, talent are going to go where they're going to get paid the best. And that's fine. And that's normal. And that's honestly, my best wish for everybody. But for each talent that leaves, it just creates another opportunity for somebody
else. Yeah. And you got territories, and you can say, and so it's always going to be that way. Rosters never stay the same, regardless of the money, really.
Yeah.
For one reason or another, rosters are always turning over. You have your stalwarts, but there is a train station at the same time.
Yeah.
And so it's just yeah. I mean, there's always going to be a spot, and if Jack doesn't return, then that just opens up a spot for somebody else. Maybe Ray Fury finds his way back or something, or somebody like that. I mean, you never, whoever. I'm just trying to name a name that's been on Power before. It's not a regular.
Yeah.
But
I had a conversation with Mecha Wolf, and we both agreed, and I don't know if you can convince Billy to do this, but the NWA should do an event in Tijuana with maybe with the Crash. I think that would be amazing.
I have no influence on that. I don't know. But I mean, yeah, maybe old TJ. I know you guys just walk across the street to get there. You're not in San Diego, but yeah,
it's a 2.5 hour drive for me, and
close.
I go down there all the time to watch Mecha Wolf and Bastia. But it's such a unique environment. That venue that they have does so well, and the crowd goes crazy. And it's a lot of guys who have spent time in the NWA, I think would do very well down there.
Yeah, but, the very early 90s, like 90, 91, I remember I wanted to check out. There was some like punk club right inside Tijuana where the shows were just wild. And those are the shows that I went to in the late 80s as an early teenager. The hardcore shows back then were, punk today is bad music and dated fashion, but back then it was wild. The show, Circle Pit Stage Dive. And there was some club there in Tijuana where like the Circle Jerks and all these people would play at, and you would see clips of it, you know what I mean, or whatever. Just go, what in the hell? Like, I need to try to make it to that. I want to see that. I mean, it's wild where I'm at, but that looks great because, when you're young, that's crazy. Let's do it. But that's what I think of whenever somebody says Tijuana, which is crazy, but I always think of that club that was there. I can't remember what it was called, Iguana or something. I don't even know. But yeah. I mean, who knows? Maybe Billy. We've done a show in Mexico City, right?
Were you there for that or no?
I was not there for that. No, I've been to Mexico a bunch of times, but I was not present for that.
I was there for that one too.
Yeah, I wasn't doing commentary yet either. I was still, I was helping backstage, but again, AAA is going to have their people. I was managing, but we weren't on it. So it's like, I didn't really expect to be on it because it was going to be a split show. So it's probably going to be like most of the top of our card, the top of their card, maybe a couple other people, but I was not present for it. I don't know if we did it now. Maybe I would be. I don't know. But, you never know. I mean, I know I did. I'm pretty sure I did Riot Fest because that's when the Galleys had their child. So I filled in for him at the Juggalo gathering, and then I did the Riot Fest. Otherwise, it probably would have been him. But so, you never know. Who knows? I might come off the bench for somebody if we go there again. Yeah, you never know.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Danny Dealz, I do appreciate your time this evening, and I don't want to keep you any longer. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And, of course, very much looking forward to the action that's happening at Dothan. Very much look forward to seeing you next week on the X. Plug something. What else you got coming up?
Well, there's nationalwrestlingalliance.com/hit the shop button. I've got some cool stuff coming. I've got this new beanie coming. I should have brought. I have a sample of it. I should have brought it. But I'm also making like a two-piece. I got a two-piece sweatsuit coming. I'm breaking the news here. But I've got some cool stuff I'm making. We got some cool new talent stuff coming. There's some other stuff around the corner that I haven't made yet. But check out the site. I'll probably do another sale maybe right after Christmas, just kind of try to just blow out some stuff that we got hanging around, make room for new stuff. Got that going on. Obviously, in January, we're in Forney again, Forney, Texas. And I know there's a JCP show on the 20th. I don't know if I'm there or not, but there's a show on the 20th in Decatur, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't, other than that, I mean, that's what I got coming up. I got to give this brother over here his eye drops in a minute. Got a big Steelers game Sunday.
Good luck to you, Steelers.
I'm going to try to make it
beat the Eagles.
Yeah, get the Eagles out of here. Get them out of here. But
Right
now, that's what I got.
Well, thanks again, brother. I really appreciate it. Great conversation, and hopefully we can link up again in 25 because I could have talked to you for like 3 hours, but
Yeah, we got deep into that crazy indie stuff, but it's good. It's good stuff. It's funny.
It's interesting. I think that's good. It's good radio. If anyone comes back and listens to it later.
That's right.
All right, brother. You have a good one, and best of luck to you this weekend. Danny Dealz, if you need him. Thank you much. Thank you much, Danny D. So that was fun. I very much enjoyed Danny Dealz being on the Alliance Guys podcast. As you can see, there was no DKM this week, but I am joined by our pal, Jaden. Jaden, what's up, brother?
Not much. Sorry I was a little late. I had some stuff to take care of, but looks like I missed Danny Dealz, but I was listening while I could, and I enjoyed that interview very much.
I did not know that he at one point was managing Tony Cosina and working, and not just managing, but like tag team partners.
Yeah, I always liked Tornado Tony. He was one of my favorite NWA junior heavyweight champions at that point. He was more talented, I think, than people gave him credit for. And, he eventually started getting some kind of spotlight, but he was always a very talented wrestler, one of my favorites of the NWA of that period.
I also want to make sure before we get further into anything else to wish our good pal, our friend from up north, the other Alliance guy, Timmy Wood, the Alliance Gold. And I heard that he might come on the show maybe before the end of the year.
That'll be cool. I mean, nice to see him again. He needs to come down to a Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators event, and I was hoping to have one announced for that, but I do have some interesting news and some things going on. So, eventually when we get to that, I think it'll be a lot of fun. But let's wait to talk about some stuff and use that as the main event.
Okay. Well, we have a few matches announced for this weekend's event, and that's one of the byproducts of they're filming this for distribution probably sometime in January. So a lot of these matches that we're talking about, like they haven't even fully developed into the storylines. We haven't seen how it's going to play out from Samhain, but we do know that these matches are happening. We have Brian Idol and Thrillbilly Silas Mason. It's kind of the fallout from their tag team match that happened on Power this week. We've got Thrillbilly Silas Mason taking on Brian Idol. Now, Jane, I know that you're not an avid watcher, but I know that you do enjoy a little predictions. What do you think? Who do you think walks away here the victor, Thrillbilly or the looks that kill Brian Idol?
I think this is a good win for Thrillbilly. He needs to continue to get wins on television and on Power and other places he can. So I think this will be a good win for him. It's also good in the long run for NWA Joe Kazana Promotions to have him highlighted like that. So I think it helps both the NWA, it helps the Thrillbilly, and definitely helps JCP out. So I'm gonna go with the Thrillbilly.
Do you think it hurts? Not hurts, but why do you think that they don't allow Thrillbilly to come onto NWA TV holding that JCP belt?
Because they already have too many damn belts to begin with. Honestly, if everybody has them, then nobody has one.
Yeah, I kind of thought you would say that. I like the idea of having that belt show up, but I also I kind of get what you're saying too. Like not having it on TV might be for the best.
This is where having a second show that's just maybe like a Back to the Territories would be very useful, because that's where that could be highlighted, where they don't have the big championships, but then they have this match from this company and this match from this company and this match from this company, and have like that whole Pro Wrestling USA or the show with Joe Penasino and Gordon Soley, the Pro Wrestling This Week style magazine show to highlight it. And I think that's where I think Danny Dealz would really highlight too, in his own ability to be a host of that. And in between these matches, hawk some merchandise, not Hawk Tua, but definitely Hawk.
No, that's a great idea, and again, nobody's listening to what we have to say in the front office, but they have powers become exclusive to X, and I don't. The more I think about it, the less I have a problem with that, because X is available to everybody. You don't need a subscription, and just by watching it, the NWA benefits from people just watching it. You don't have to like, comment, subscribe, although they would probably prefer that you did. But there's no barrier of entry. You don't even have to have an X account. You could literally just go to x.com NWA and watch the media from there, and it's not a hard situation. And the same thing with YouTube. Like, you don't need to be subscribed to the NWA to watch that channel, but I have less problems with that. But I think by having that exclusive to X, I think it would make a lot of sense by having a YouTube only show where you did kind of weave and blend some of the territory shows, having maybe a match from Crossfire, maybe having a Mid-America Championship match, or a JCP title match, and just kind of blend the NWA territories with a guy like Danny Deal doing the hosting and slinging the merch in between. I think that's a brilliant idea. It's just too bad our voices aren't heard by the upper echelon of the NWA.
I got a big mouth, so if I scream loud enough, I'm sure they could be heard, but my throat hurts. I really don't feel like screaming at the moment.
I completely understand. The next match we have for the Looks at Kill is going to be Colby Corino versus Kerry Morton. Again, we talked about the fallout of the matches that were happening at Saw Win. Colby and Idol took on Kerry Morton and Silas Mason this past week on Power, and now we're having kind of the fallout of that match take place at Looks at Kill. Colby and Idol got the victory. Colby pinned Kerry for the victory. So now it's kind of a bit of a return match when we see these two again. Remember, Colby is the man that took the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Championship off of Kerry Morton. I think this is going to be a really good match, and I think it has potential to kind of set the table for a lot of things if they choose to do it. But who do you see going over here at Looks at Kill, Colby or Kerry? Which second generation wrestler do you see going over?
I picked the one whose father is a professional wrestler. No, but honestly, they both kind of need this win. That's the problem. They both kind of need this win. I think Colby needs it slightly more, because I think Kerry does more with tag team, or at least as a faction. So they always have the faction to fall back on. So I'm going to go with Colby because I think he needs it a slightly more. But either way, both need this win and both could benefit from it. Plus, I think this will be like a rubber match, because I think this is at least the third time that they've wrestled on NWA television of some kind, at least. Yeah.
And I think it's going to be I think you're right. I think Colby needs it more. But again, it's like, what story are they trying to tell? What are they trying to do? Because, we had a new TV champion crowned in Carson Drake on Tuesday, and I have a lot to say about that, but I don't think I'll have time to talk about it tonight. But Colby Corino, our pal DKM, messaged me after that match and said, I would have done everything the same except for I had taken out Carson Drake and put in I would have put in Kerry Morton. And that, to me, that I understand that as well. But, you've got Mims as your national champion. He needs a good feud, a good story to be invested in. Carson Drake's going to need someone to feud with. And I feel like when you look at these two wrestlers, I think they both slot into either one of those positions very, very well. So we'll kind of have to wait and see. But my money's on Colby as well. I think he does need the victory a little bit more.
Yeah. And the thing is, too, I think Colby, another reason is, now if you are talking about the new TV champion, Colby's a more natural challenger than I think than I think Kerry is, because Kerry's very unlikable, and that's where his money is.
Yeah.
And Carson Drake is just kind of unwatchable. So don't even know what beta alanine is.
Well, we've got two champions who are both heel, and Billy's never strayed from his idea that there's not black, there's not white, there's just varying shades of gray. So it's not uncommon to see two heels fight in the NWA. It's not uncommon to see two faces fight in the NWA. But I think if you're going to tell a story, it'd be better to have a strong baby face and a strong heel, as opposed to two heels going at it or two faces going at it. So, but Noob agrees. He thinks that Colby needs the win more. So that one we're all in agreement on. The next match, I'm going to go. I don't know which the next match is going to be, but it's a cage match is certainly in store for Alabama. It's the first time two women have fought in a cage in Alabama. We've got Tiffany Nieves, who is currently your Exodus Pro Women's Champion. You got Natalia Markova, who has a lot on her resume, but most recently winning the Texas Style Wrestling Women's Championship. I don't know if they're calling that the NWA Women's Texas Championship, but NWA Texas Women's Championship. But this is the matchup we're getting. Two very talented females. Both of them a propensity for pain. We know that Natalia Markova was robbed of her legitimate shot at the Women's World Heavyweight, not World's Heavyweight, the Women's World Championship, when Tiffany Nieves interfered, costing Markova the match against Kenzie Page. And we haven't seen it yet, but we know Tiffany Nieves will be challenging Kenzie Page for that title. Advertising-wise, I think we know that she doesn't win the title, but that's kind of a big matchup with Tiffany Nieves and Markova. What do you think about this one, Jaden?
I think, first of all, you should be glad you're not in a cage with those women after calling them heavyweights.
Yeah, and that was a mistake. It was a flub.
But I think Markova needs it most, so I see Markova coming out as the victor of this one.
I think Markova definitely needs it. I don't know that. Like, look, Nieves is a phenomenal athlete. They're both great athletes. They're both great wrestlers. But the pay-per-view is literally called Looks at Kill. It's literally themed after Markova and Idol, and both of them are facing opponents who are also in need of big victories. So it's like if Idol loses, then Markova's got to win, right?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense for Billy booking, but Markova does need it more, in my opinion. So that's why I'm going with Markova in this one. And it should be a good match. Markova impressed me after seeing her in a match with Camille, and Nieves is very, very talented too. So I think this may be one of those matches where the women steal the event.
Out of curiosity, do you think Dr. Lawrence Draconium can make money with either one of those talents?
Oh yeah, I definitely think. I think they would both be great challengers for Valerie Vermin if anybody wants to book Valerie Vermin in the World Wrestling Grand Prix Championship against either wrestler. I think that'll be something that'll make some money. I think Nieves is slightly more known because of her time with Ohio Valley Wrestling.
Yeah.
But either one are very talented and look good on a poster.
That's for sure. Next up, the World Tag Team titles are on the line. Murdoch's taking on Talos and Daisy Kills. The story here is, remember when Daisy Kill came to the NWA, he singled out Trevor Murdoch? I know it was a long time ago. Maybe you don't remember this, but I do. And he literally had a giant attack Trevor Murdoch. That giant left, but then we got Talos. But this is a very interesting storyline here, too, because you have a tag team in Talos and Daisy Kills. They're former U.S. tag team champions. They beat the Immortals to get this opportunity. And this is a dynamic that we haven't seen Murdoch face a lot. Murdochs are usually the biggest guys in the ring. But on Saturday, they take on Talos and Daisy Kills. Now, Talos is a legit 7 foot, maybe 7'3". I don't know. He's a big guy. And then Daisy Kill, we're seeing a more aggressive Daisy Kill each and every week. I I don't know who's going to walk away as a winner from this match. If I'm a betting man, I'm going to bet on the tag team champions, but I would be shocked if Daisy and Talos walk away as tag champions. What do you think?
I think I like the fact that it's at least a fresh matchup in a way. They've had them against Blood Force Trauma. They've had them against the Fixers. They've had them against the Immortals, but they haven't had them against this tag yet. So it's a fresh challenger for the World Tag Team titles, which is always a good thing. Traditionally, NWA booking doesn't give fresh challengers a title match, a win, usually without losing first. So, I think they have to get that loss before they'll ever be World Tag Team champions.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go also because I think they need it more. They're still kind of new in the tag, but in their tag reign, I think Murdoch's need it most. Trademarked.
Yeah. Well, I think if Murdoch's losing those belts, I mean, there's a whole slew of questions. What do you do with Knox? What do you do with Trevor? Do you keep him as a tag team? Does Trevor start pursuing the 10 pounds of gold? Does Knox start pursuing the 10 pounds of gold? There's a lot of questions that would happen if they lost those titles. And then, of course, in the main event, well, I don't know if it's the main event. We don't really have the main event announced yet, but I always put the women's championship up high on the card because we've had so many matches where the world's women's champion has delivered. Kenzie Page, Holly Hood, Haley J. Is Kenzie Page's time up? Is it Holly Hood's time? Who's going to walk away champion after this one? Kenzie Page has just done everything right. She's gone through. She's beaten everybody that she can. I mean, she outlasted. You were there. We were there. She beat Max the Impaler to retain that title. She beat Camille to win that title at the 75th anniversary show. And all she's done is continued to win. She's beaten back Ella Envy. She's beaten Tiffany Nieves. She's beaten Natalia Markova. She's done everything right as a women's world champion. I don't know what else she has left to prove. Holly Hood, Haley J's hungry. Holly Hood came to the NWA saying she wanted to be the next champion. Holly Hood is well known from her time in WOW as well as OVW. I'm not going to say she's a household name, but she certainly has had a lot of FaceTime with the public. I mean, where do you go with this one?
Well, I say if Hollywood Haley J's hungry, it's probably from the Munchies. But again, I'm not the biggest fan of Hollywood Haley J, but I can see the money in her. I think this match is about a year too late. So, but I think right now, Kenzie's due for a loss. Maybe she can come back and win the belt again, but she needs something to freshen up because she's really gone through the entire list of challengers.
Yeah.
She's beaten Markova. She's beaten Nieves. She's beaten everybody but Hollywood, at least in a singles match. And I think this will be a good fresh matchup, give Hollywood some time and to wrestle against other people, and then maybe have Kenzie get it again, especially now that her sister's hurt. This is a good time for Kenzie to do something without having a third or second or even a fourth in her corner. Now she's by herself, and I think this is a good time to prove that she can do everything. And even though I do think she would be better to lose the championship, I think while her sister is out, if her sister's going to be out for any length of time, I don't know, this would be a good chance to showcase yourself by yourself and really put the spotlight on you and not have to share it with anybody else, your sister, your tag team partner, your faction, or anything.
Yeah. And I think with all that being said, we didn't get a shakeup in the women's division this year. So Max was TV champion for nearly the entire year. And then, she's the one that took the belt off of Kenzie. We didn't get a shakeup when Max forfeited the title to challenge. The new champion was Big Mama. We haven't even seen Big Mama on TV. There hasn't been something ground shaking in the women's division. And I think if Holly Hood, Haley J won, I'm not saying she's the biggest name in women's wrestling, but it would be a jolt to the women's division. And I think, I'm not going to bet against Kenzie Page because she's proven me wrong many of times. but I think it would be very earth-shattering if Hollywood Haley J became the champion, which I think isn't necessarily a bad thing for the NWA.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I think she may not be the biggest star in wrestling, but she might be the biggest women's star right now the NWA has with the overall notoriety. And she kind of had a bad reputation for a while. Some people said she deserved it. Some people said she just was in the wrong spot. Could have been immaturity or something. But this is a good chance to prove herself and take all her doubters and all the people that don't like her for that bad reputation and prove them wrong and show that she could be a big force. Because you know what the NWA is right now? NWA is a showcase. You know, there's a lot of people that watch the NWA or don't watch the NWA, but I know the people up top at least pay attention to what's going on because there's some talent there that need to be discovered once their contracts end. And this is definitely for both the Page sisters. I think that's already happened. But I think Hollywood Haley J, this is a spotlight that could be on her where she can really show that she could be moving up to another level.
The other match that I don't have a graphic for that I believe is happening is Mr. Grimm's, who we did get to see at the 76, and he also had an unsuccessful opportunity to challenge for Max's television title. He will have an opportunity to wrestle Mims with Black G's for that national title. And then I know Mike Mondo's supposed to be at the show. Obviously, Tom Latimer should be having a title defense. One could assume that Carson Drake will be having his title defense. But there's not a lot of matches that have been announced yet for the signature live event. So we still we're kind of winging it because we don't really know what's going to happen. And, I guess that's what it is. And as long as the NWA is shot and distributed the way that it is, that's how it's going to be.
I don't even know how to speculate, though. Here's the thing. There's some women that the tag team women's championship can be defended against that are not being currently mentioned. So there could be, any combination of those women could be something. There's challenges against Carson Drake could be numerous because he's new as a champion. He's seen as a vulnerable champion. So everybody's a fresh challenger to him. There's anybody that they could start with. Who's the national champion?
Mims.
Yeah, so Mims again. He may be gone against Grimm if that's true. I've seen Grimm's from, I think, Maryland. Good wrestler, really good guy. I think he's wrestled for Dog in the past too, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to check into that. But he's a good wrestler, and I think that'll be a good match for Mims. It's the problem is I wish they would have built up Grimm and Mims. That's kind of rhyme. I just realized it rhymes. They should have built up Grimm a bunch of times with a bunch of wins before that happened.
Yeah,
but it's still something I think I'd like to see because they both have the talent. They just need the right person to know how to focus them and spotlight them. So maybe this is something, the chance where they could highlight and elevate each other in a good match.
Well,
but I don't know who to speculate for the world title at all.
I mean, it could be EC3 again, probably will be. And it might be in a steel cage match. The thing that gets me about this whole situation with Mr. Grimm, and I thought he was a great talent when we saw him in Philly. I liked him a lot. And his outing with Max was, I mean, look, it wasn't his best foot forward because he took the loss, but he looked good in his loss. But I'm not putting somebody into a title picture that has essentially one match and he lost. So I don't know, I don't know. Maybe we get an eliminator match or like a battle royal or something to create Mr. Grimm as the opponent for Mims, but it feels like there's absolutely zero build for this, and that's what gets me about it. You said it. Mr. Grimm is a hell of a talent, but I don't want someone to just be put into a title match without having earned it. Wins and losses to me should matter. And as far as Mr. Grimm's win-loss record in the NWA, it looks like he's 0-1. And if he has more victories than I'm unaware of, that's great. But again, if I'm the target audience, which I think I should be, as much as I watch, I should know that Mr. Grimm deserves this opportunity and wasn't just put into a match. And then there's other guys on the roster who I think, and again, I'm not taking away from Mr. Grimm, but Spencer Slade is another guy they've done nothing with. and I'm not saying that you should put Spencer Slade into that match because he has no wins and losses that would to prove the equity that he deserves to be there. I think that just the simple storytelling and making wins and losses matter would be so much better for the NWA to build up these matches. And even if we didn't see the match that led to that match, we could see the maturation process of a wrestler starting to gather up some W's to challenge for a title belt. I think that would be just smart wrestling.
Yeah, but what does that have to do with the NWA, unfortunately? But I also didn't realize I didn't mention the World Junior Heavyweight Championship match. There's a couple of challengers that I think could potentially face for him, and I don't know what's going on there. But
yeah,
the problem is there's no challengers that are immediately built up. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see this person versus Alex Taylor or this person versus EC3. I'm sorry, Tom Latimer. And I really hope it's not EC3. I hope EC3 gets a couple wins, but I really hope it's not him because they need somebody. They need to move past EC3 and get him. He'll eventually get a shot. But they've just kind of done that match to death, and nothing about any of their matches makes me excited to see them for a 15th time.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. They just haven't done anything to make. Unfortunately, they just don't make me care. Like Tom Latimer's, he just won the title at 76, but he, by putting him in a ring with EC3 at Saw Win, it wasn't the best idea if you're just going to run it back at Looks at Kill. And that seems like the only answer, but they might surprise me, and hopefully they do. There has been no formal match announcement made yet, so I'm hoping that the NWA does something that makes it more meaningful and more important, but I'm not holding my breath for that.
Okay.
So that's all we got for the upcoming Signature Live event. Of course, they'll be in Forney, Texas next month. So I'm assuming that we'll probably see the fallout of these tapings, the Signature Live event taping in January as part of the new year, and then we'll probably see the events that's happening in Forney. We probably won't see that till February. So it looks like we have some content available to us, but we won't be seeing it for some time. But that's it for the NWA. Jaden, you had mentioned that there's some stuff going on with Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators. What can you share?
Well, I can tell you that Saturday night, February 15th, at the Monmouth University I think it's West Branch, New Jersey. I actually have to learn that location so I can start doing the commercial better. But it's a historic area in New Jersey. Some Revolutionary War battles were fought there. And you're going to see Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators make its debut in another university, at Monmouth University. Already signed, you have Brian Johnson from Ring of Honor, back when Ring of Honor was really good. You have Fallah Bahh from TNA Impact Wrestling. You have former WWE superstar Tank Tolan making his return to Dog. You have ECW original Jim Molyneux, a matchmaker. He will be there. The Dog Tag Team Championships will be on the line. The Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators Heavyweight Championship will be on the line. And the World Wrestling Grand Prix Heavyweight Championship will be on the line. But the main event of the evening is going to be Monmouth University graduate Biggie Biggs teaming with former WWE superstar Enzo Amore. And they will be taking on main event Michael Mars and Justin Carino. Justin Carino is not related to Steve or Colby in any way, but he was actually trained by Biggie Biggs, and he's looking now to take his former trainer down in his home university where he graduated, looking to bring him down and make a name for himself with him and Michael Mars at the expense of Biggie Biggs and Enzo Amore.
Juicy Justin Carino, part of the modern day Heavenly Bodies.
Yes. And I can't wait to see him. He's actually He's worked for Dog in the past. He's really good. So yeah, Brian Johnson really is awesome. I actually should I don't know. I'm probably going to get in trouble for spilling this.
Do it. Damn it.
But I know Dr. Zirconium is currently busy, so he probably won't be paying attention. I actually know who Brian Johnson's facing. Do you want to know?
Yes.
Oh, do you want to know?
Your ass better call somebody. Yeah, we want to know.
He is going to be going one-on-one for the World Wrestling Grand Prix Heavyweight Championship. David Goldie versus #1 Brian Johnson.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit.
That match has me excited.
It should. It has me excited. And I'm not super familiar with Brian Johnson, but if he's half as good as you say he is, all right.
Oh, yeah. He made a name for himself in Ring of Honor. He originally came from the Monster Factory and Old Time Wrestling. He is a product of those two schools. He is very good in the ring. And then he started working out with Ring of Honor. And he started doing a lot of the smaller Ring of Honor stuff. But his promos and his ability to talk and his skills in the ring have put him on the map. And Ring of Honor, he was one of the highlights. His promos, he was making fun of Danhausen and other things going on. And his promos about what wrestling is and the old school nature have put him on the map. And he's a very good wrestler. It's actually not the first time he's gotten a shot at the World Wrestling Grand Prix Championship, because when William Huckabee won the Jimmy Clydesdale Cup, one of the wrestlers on the way that he defeated was Brian Johnson.
Okay.
And Brian Johnson's worked for Dog a couple times in the past. He did some tag matches for us. He did an OTW championship match. Again, he's very, very good in the ring. And I think him and Goldie is going to be one of those matches that the people who like professional wrestling will enjoy.
Wrestling.
And you know what? I think I may have also announced it last week, but in case I didn't, the Dog Tag Team Championship will be on the line, because it's going to be Patch and Vinny the Fixer getting their rematch against Dave Dahl and Dylan Mesh. So it'll be trying to regain those Dog Tag Team Championship for a record-breaking third time. And this is their shot.
By the way, and that matchup is going to be epic too, because we know what kind of craziness happens when you have the old school in the ring, when you have Vinny the Fixer and Patch. I mean, craziness ensues. But real quick, Brian Johnson once challenged for the NWA North American Heavyweight Championship from Apollo for NWA on Fire, and had a second match for NWA on Fire against Crazy Chainsaw Bastard. And I don't know who Crazy Chainsaw Bastard is. His name doesn't really, I don't know who that is, but I just wanted to share that with you.
Oh, yeah. And he's been in the ring with some of the best in the business. And he's made a name for himself. He's very talented. And I think you're going to see, this may be Goldie's toughest challenger to date, really. So I don't know what's going to happen on that match, but I think that's going to be one that I think, if any matches ever get to the Dog YouTube anytime soon, I think when it does, you'll definitely enjoy seeing it.
Yeah, well, definitely. Yeah, unfortunately I won't be in New Jersey in February, but I kind of wish I was.
Well, I don't know what's going on. I do know that Monmouth University has a radio program. They have a newspaper. They have social media program, and they have a television station. So maybe they'll, like what Rowan did in the past, maybe you'll be able to see it live. But if not, you'll definitely be able to see it on the Dog YouTube, which make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share everything now. There is stuff that we're waiting to put out, but we're waiting. My camera guy is having a lot on his plate at the moment. He's really dropping the ball and getting that stuff out there. And, but there's that. And then that's not all. I mean, there's other stuff in the works. I wish I had something I wanted to announce. Unfortunately, I still didn't get the paperwork signed on it. But there is the match at Rowan University on Thursday night, April 17th, again at Rowan University in beautiful Glassboro, New Jersey, but not the rustic part. You're going to see some great action there too. Tank Tolan will be there again. He's a semi-regular for Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators. You're going to see Wrecking Ball Legursky. The NWA might know that name. He's making his return to Rowan. You got Alex Kane from MLW, former MLW champion. He'll be in action. We're going to have one of the Conquistadors. That's kind of cool. Whoever the dog tag team champions are, either Dave Dahl and Dylan Mesh or Patrick Vinny the Fixer, they'll be there, assuming either are still champion, if whoever the champions are, either or. The Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators heavyweight champion Breaker Morant will be there, again, assuming he's still champion because he is scheduled for the Monmouth County event. You'll also see, again, assuming he's still champion, Rowan's own David Goldie. And one wrestler I'm really looking forward to seeing, Donovan Dijak.
That is a big get. A lot of
Very
people,
big. He's like 7 feet tall, or at least 6 something, upper 6.
I'm kind of surprised he's able to work indies. Like, I'm surprised he didn't get snatched up by AEW or New Japan. So that's a good get for you guys.
Yeah, he's currently working MLW, but he works a lot of places around. Very, again, extremely talented wrestler. Looking forward to him a lot. I don't know who he's facing yet. I guess we'll find out maybe after the Monmouth. We'll know when things are clearer. But it's nice to have that. And Wrecking Ball was very popular with the fans at Rowan University. Tank, again, is just a nice solid hand. He's very good in the ring, former WWE superstar. He's been in and out of dog, and it's nice to see him on the event.
Yeah, great dude. Love that guy. He's welcome back on this program anytime. Great conversation with him. Definitely would like to see him, get his opportunities with dog. I have nothing but nice things to say about him.
Very good interview too. If you want to go back in the archives, go look up that interview. It was very entertaining. I think I can't wait till you guys, check it out and see it, because you learn a lot about the guy and get a bigger appreciation of just how he's been around and what he's done in the business. And everybody knows him for his brief run in the WWE, but his stuff in Ring of Honor and his stuff in Ohio Valley Wrestling and even early in the Monster Factory, he's been around and done some good things in this business, and people just need to recognize him. He's a talent that doesn't get appreciated as much as he should, and it's nice to have him back. And a conquistador.
Who could forget the conquistadors?
Yeah, we got a conquistador. So that'll be really fun to have on the event too.
I wonder if it's Adam Copeland under a mask.
I don't think so. I don't think he has a foot in dog right now, or even a foot underneath of him at the moment. This is
Are
not
you saying
broken.
he doesn't have a leg to stand on?
Yes.
Are you saying he would lose a one-legged ass-kicking contest?
Well, I think he has no legs at the moment.
Oh. Anyways,
and there's more coming. And don't forget, on March 15th, we're going to have a table at the Geek Force Fan Fest at Rowan University. It'll help us promote we're going to do that to help promote the Rowan event, and hopefully I'll have some news on that date for more on that too. And we're also working on something else, another maybe convention where there actually might be dog action. But again, I have to wait for the T's to get crossed and the I's to be dotted. And I really thought I was going to screw that up. But that's going to be a lot on there. There's a lot in the works, and there's still other things planning. I do know dogs talk to other universities, and hopefully we're going to get into something on that too. So there's a lot of fun you got to keep an eye out for. Just, keep on, check out dogprowrestling.com. That's the website. Make sure you check out our Instagram, our Facebook, and our X, and our, what's the one that's the @ symbol? I forget. Threads.
X? Oh, Threads. Yeah, Threads.
Yeah, Threads. And we're not on Blueski yet. But I'm waiting to see if that one's even worth going to at the moment.
It's hot. I think right now they're getting a lot of the people who decided to leave X are going to Blue Sky. And I think Blue Sky right now has more active users than Threads. Not Meta, but more than Threads. So I would definitely suggest getting on Blue Sky.
And we're on TikTok too, but we never update it, and it's going to be gone anyway soon, apparently.
Well, we never got to see you or Dr. Lawrence Zirconium do some dancing on there. What gives?
The actual idea was we were going to try to have Patch do all the TikTok dances. Like every time there's an event, have Patch do starting with the ones that are no longer popular, and just work our way up.
I feel
that
like
was the original idea for it.
I feel like we've been robbed of something that would have been classic.
And of course, you could have given down the dancing to Fireball.
I saw it live.
Yes, you did, didn't you? Well, hopefully, you'll be coming down and over sometime soon and be part of Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators again. It's always nice to have the Alliance guys there. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge to everybody who's a fan of this podcast. Make sure you go to both our website and make sure to go to our dog events that are actually published.
Big Chris Dog, Professor Rick Del Santo, the Alliance Gold, Timmy Wood, the other Alliance guys, Dave Scooby. Who else can I name drop?
Sam Retro should be there.
Retro. Well, Retro, yeah, because Retro's in upstate New York, but I mean that's a shorter drive to California or Canada.
In fact, maybe Timmy can pick him up. Yeah.
Did you just say
A? Maybe Timmy can pick him up on the way down.
Yeah, maybe. All right, hey, that's going to do it for us here tonight. If you guys hung out this long, we appreciate you. Of course, we'll be here next Thursday. We're getting close to the end of the year. I think, I don't know, maybe next week might be our last episode of the year. We'll see. But if it is, we'll have some special guests and some fun stuff. So I do appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much for spending your Thursday evening with us. And until next time, Jaden and DKM, even though he's not here tonight, and myself will see you at the matches.
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The